Hello folks, I'm Ronald Mehta and welcome back to Digit.com. We are your digital aid and we provide free courses on the subject of business and marketing. This video is a comprehensive take on the gamut of advertising, along with live examples and case studies. The video covers close to 35 topics on the gamut of advertising. Let's start with the first one. Alright, let's start with the introduction to advertising. Advertising is a means by which non-personal information about products, which could be goods, services, or ideas, is communicated in a structured and composed manner. It is usually paid for by a known entity and it is non-personal in nature. Like these billboards, you can see the ad of Levi's on that, which is obviously paid for by Levi's and it is non-personal in nature. Moving on to some advertising case studies. Starting with the Amazon's advertising spend. After Amazon's advertising cost increased to about $16.9 billion, an increase of $5.9 billion from 2019, it was officially the biggest advertiser on earth. The online retailer increases expenditure on advertising and other promotional costs to market their products and services. The retail behemoth went bullish during the pandemic, which can be evidenced from the rise in its net sale from about $280.5 billion to about $470 billion in 2021. Moving on. In the past decade, Amazon's expenditure on advertisements has increased by 20 times. Its ad expense was about $593 million in 2009, whereas in 2019, it amounted to about $11 billion as per company filings. This increase in expenditure made them move ahead in the advertiser market compared to other consumer packaged goods such as Unilever and P&G. According to President of Global Intelligence at WPP's Group M, Brian Weiser, Amazon is likely the biggest advertiser on earth, accounting for nearly 2% of all spending. Now please note, the company published in the report that the total marketing expense in 2019 was about $18.9, out of which $11 billion, as we know, was their advertising expense and $7.9 billion was for other cost. Moving on to another case study of Motorola, a print ad. Motorola collaborated with Wire to advertise Moto X's personalization. Let's see how. The color of the phones could be changed with the help of buttons. Right in the center of the magazine pages, a set of buttons, a slab of plexiglass, 4 batteries, and 3 LEDs combined made up Moto X's interactive advertisement. The readers, with the help of a design, could personalize the rear of a Moto X and illuminate the phone with LED of 11 colors. Pretty unique. Moving on to another case study of Nivea's protection ad. Nivea's son in Brazil published an ad inside a magazine where a strip could be torn out and worn as a bracelet. But why? Let's see how. The strip that could be worn by kids as a bracelet was made out of humidity-resistant material. Nivea Protege was a special app designed for parents to set a distance after which the strip would trigger an alarm. This brilliant idea helped parents keep an eye on their children. Mothers that lived near Rio de Janeiro were the main target audience for this advertisement. At the Cannes Lion International Festival of Creativity, this ad-turned wearable device was awarded the first prize in the 3-year-old mobile category then. Moving on to the features of advertising. First, it's a systematic and creative process. It includes the pricing of ads, the planning and the creation. Next, it is paid and in a controlled form. The advertiser, as in the client, holds control over the advertisement by spending on the space and time required to create it. Advertising is a non-personal presentation, as stated earlier. Radio, TV, digital and outdoor advertising, along with the press, are forms of media used, which are non-personal in nature. Ideas. NGOs and government conduct public awareness campaigns to spread their ideas. Goods. Traditionally, advertisements generally market certain FMCG goods, but that has been changing. There come in the services. Advertisements also market services like telecom, insurance and banking. Advertising facilitates consumer choice, they help them in decision making. Aspects like price, features of products are communicated to customer through ads. Customers make purchases after seeing these depending on their preference and budget. Next, target audience advertising. Communicating the right message to the appropriate target audience is the advertisement's main intention. For instance, the parents of babies are the main targets of Huggies ads and not babies. And finally, the aspect of creativity. An advertisement should consist of artistic, productive and original and exciting content. Please note, creativity is one of our videos in this particular advertising course. So that's it folks, this brings an end to the topic on Introduction to Advertising and its features. These are the list of sources and links referred to for our content in the video. Let's start with the advertising functions. Key functions include creating awareness, developing brand image, persuasion, promoting social welfare, stimulating demand for the product, and finally taking care of competitive advantage. Let's look at each of these functions briefly along with certain case studies. Starting with the first one, creating awareness of products and services. This is especially true for new products and products that have a celebrity brand ambassador. For example, Peugeot's airbag ad, a very unique ad inside a newspaper. The interactive advertisement required people to hit the printed newspaper as in front view of the car. The page behind the advertisement consisted of an airbag that inflated after being hit, a pretty unique way of showing the feature of their car. Moving on to the second function, developing brand image. The mental idea of a brand that consumers and others have is called brand image. Creative content, celebrity brand ambassadors, and media, all factors influence brand building. Let's look at an example of Amazon's Alexa. A lot of people turn to Alexa for answers to random questions and assistance in launching everything from favorite songs to daily news report. Now, in this campaign before Alexa, which was at the 2020 Super Bowl TV commercial, in this ad, Amazon Alexa featuring Hollywood couple Ellen DeGeneres and Portia de Rossi are getting ready to leave the house, but not before DeGeneres asking Alexa to turn down the thermostat. She also asked her wife, "What do you think people did before Alexa?" A brilliant way of showing our dependency on Amazon Alexa in today's world. Moving on to the third function of persuasion. Demonstration of products on TV, discounts, testimonial offerings, and brand endorsement by celebrities are some tactics used by advertisements to make consumers purchase the product. Case study of Volkswagen here. Volkswagen released a 3-page guide that helped readers take a test drive. Users could install an app and try out different features. These included the lane assist mode, one of their key features. This mode makes the phone vibrate if it comes too near the side of the road. Moving on to the fourth function of promoting social welfare. Social ad campaigns are created by government agencies in order to spread awareness among people regarding programs and social issues. Anti-pollution, anti-corruption, child immunization, and anti-dowry are examples of some of these programs worldwide. A huge number of people who work hard all through the night are not noticed by public, and McDonald's ran a campaign for them. In this campaign by McDonald's, it featured a group of invisible staff where they are shown tucking in hospital patients in, stocking supermarket shelves late in the night. The campaign was titled Night Workers. In the end, 3 night workers are shown gaining recognition at McDonald's. The advertisement ends with the catchphrase, "If you are awake, we are awake." Moving on to the fifth function of stimulating demand. Nivea, along with Giovanni plus Draft FCB, published these special ads which were solar power chargers for cell phones. What a masterstroke. These ads came with a solar panel and a cell phone plug. This let consumers leave them to soak up the sunlight and charge the phones. In the meantime, they could enjoy the sun and the beaches of Rio. The ads were published in Veja Rio, a Brazilian magazine. And finally, number 6, competitive advantage. It is possible for an organization to successfully stand market competition with the help of tactical, recurrent creative ads. The best examples in this case would be Pepsi versus Coke, Burger King's Whopper versus McDonald's Big Mac. These creative ads are released at intervals by these companies to stay ahead of their competition and to gain some competitive advantage. So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic on functions of advertising. These are the list of sources and links referred to for our content in the video. Let's start with the classification of advertising. Advertising classification can be done in many ways, and few of the ways are given below. These entail, first, based on advertisers. They include 2 elements. Then based on area, they include 4 elements under it. Then comes based on audience. They have another 4 elements into it. Then comes based on media, which has several medias under it. And finally based on function, which includes about 6 sub-elements. We'll look at each one of them briefly. So now let's take a stab based on advertisers. As we saw earlier, based on advertisers has 2 sub-elements. One is the size of the budget. Advertising budget of big companies might be into millions. In fact, it is worthy to note that Amazon spent a whopping $16 billion on advertising in 2021. The other element is the nature of the organization. Advertisers are divided on the basis of the nature of the organization. For instance, NGOs, commercial organizations, and government organizations. Let's see a case study of the World Wildlife Foundation, WWF. WWF partners with Snapchat to promote their #LastSelfie campaign. #LastSelfie creatively used the Snapchat mobile social platform. The campaign's basic idea is to use the original timed message feature to point out that endangered species are running out of time while connecting with millennials through selfies, as you can witness in the pictures. Don't Let This Be My #LastSelfie was used to increase donations to the World Wildlife Foundation. Moving on to based on area. Local advertising entails retailers implementing local advertising to reach people in local area. They do that through cable networks, newspapers, billboards, and posters. Next, regional advertising. When advertisers want to focus on a specific region, they implement regional advertising through radio and television. National advertising. When advertisers want to sell their products all over the country, they employ national advertising. Examples, magazines and televisions. And finally, international advertising, done by hotels, airlines, and MNCs, who use international advertising for advertising their products and services. The case study of Coca-Cola. Now, Coca-Cola had a global campaign called as #ShareACoke. The media used in this case. The campaign needed original content in various languages and formats, including print and TV ads, billboards, SMS messaging, websites, and social media. Consumers ended up sharing more than 500,000 photos through the #ShareACoke hashtag within the first year. Coca-Cola roughly obtained 25 million new Facebook followers in that very same year, and the campaign sold more than 150 million personalized bottles. It resulted in over 1 billion impressions. The ultimate measurement was Coca-Cola managed to gain a 2% rise in soft drink sales that increased Coke consumption from 1.7 to 1.9 billion servings per day and made #ShareACoke a #1 global trending topic on social media. Moving on to number 3, based on audience. Several types under it. First, consumer advertising. Consumer action is encouraged and awareness is created with the help of consumer advertising. Magazines, radios, and televisions are the most commonly used media. Next, industrial advertising. The kind of business-to-business advertising that is directed at manufacturers is called industrial marketing. Next, trade advertising. Here the raw materials and equipment used in another company's manufacturing process are advertised. In addition to promoting particular products, wholesalers, retailers, and dealers can be influenced with the help of trade advertising. And finally, professional advertising. Doctors, architects, professionals, and lawyers can be influenced with the help of professional advertising. We would look at a case study of Nike reaching a global audience during the pandemic. Nike's message during COVID. If you ever dreamed of playing for millions around the world, now is your chance. Play inside, play for the world. At a period when both global athletes and humble joggers' day-to-day activity had been interrupted, Nike created a campaign that intended to unite us all in our new normal. It was Nike's Play for the World campaign. Created by Whedon plus Kennedy, it augments the message that everyone must do their bit for the world and play inside. Moving on to number 4, based on media. These include first, press media, that is magazines and newspapers. Next, broadcast media, which includes television ads and radio ads. Then, outdoor media, which includes neon signs, hoardings, point of purchase, transit, and posters. And finally, internet media, which includes the likes of YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, and many more. Now looking at an example of Absolute Vodka and the print ad media. Absolute bottles don't have a distinct shape. However, it is the easiest to recognize bottle around the globe. Absolute's campaign included print ads were a huge success. They showed the bottles in the wild. The ad continued running for 25 years. It is the longest ad that has run without interruption. It consists of more than 1,500 separate ads. Absolute's vodka market share was only 2.5% when the campaign was launched. It finally came to an end in the early 2000s. By then, Absolute was importing about 4.5 million cases into the US per year. This is half of the total vodka imported in the country. Moving on to number 5, based on function. These include the following. First, direct action advertising. In order to get instant responses and actions from target demographics, direct action advertising is employed. Next, indirect action advertising. Attention is directed towards a brand through indirect action advertising. Then, primary advertising. Broad demand for services and goods is generated through primary advertising. Then comes in line selective advertising. Selective demand for products is generated by the advertisers of branded products through selective advertising. Product advertising. Product sale is marketed through product advertising. And finally, institutional advertising. The name and the goodwill of a company are built through institutional advertising or image advertising. The example of Volkswagen, you're trying to highlight the lane assist feature of their vehicle. Volkswagen released a 3-page guide that helped readers take a test drive. Users could install an app and try out different features. These included the lane assist mode. This mode makes the phone vibrate if it comes to the near side of the road. So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic on classification of advertising. These are the list of sources and links referred to for our content in the video. Let's start with the active participants in advertising. The companies that are actively involved in the advertising space are called participants. The 6 functional participants in advertising are: first, the advertisers or the client, advertising agencies who create the ad, audience for whom the ad is created, or I may call the customers of the product or service, advertising media such as TV, radio, print ads or social media through which the ad is shown to the customer, advertising production firms who help shoot the ad, and finally government authorities that may influence advertising norms depending on the country. Now let's look at each one of them briefly with suitable examples. Let's start with advertisers, as in the client. The concluding decisions about a target demographic, ad budget, ad campaign duration and advertising media as set by these sellers. Examples include Coca-Cola, Amazon and Nike. Moving on to advertising agencies, there are many of them. Planning, creation and placements of ads are done by these third-party creative companies. This is done in order for the services and goods of sellers to reach the consumers. The sellers are the advertisers. Examples of the best agencies in the world include JWT and O&M. Moving on to a case study of the advertising agency, Weeden plus Kennedy. Weeden plus Kennedy was established by David Kennedy and Dan Weeden in 1982. It started off as a boutique shop in Oregon with Nike as their only client. Now W plus K now has offices in Amsterdam, Tokyo, Sao Paulo, New York, London, Shanghai and Delhi. They are the largest prevailing independent agency in the world. Their clients include KFC, Ford, Bud Light and Old Spice. Weeden plus Kennedy has successfully aimed to deliver conventional, high-impact advertising for major brands. We will see some examples. Moving on. Along with the conventional methods, they continue to adjust their skills to contemporary storytelling equipment ranging from podcasting to AI. This willingness to adapt to modern times helped them gain businesses from modern brands like Instagram, OkCupid, Airbnb and Lyft. Advertising industry battles to balance the demands of the clients, competition and ad board public. In these trying times, Weeden plus Kennedy work continues to offer inspiration with an old school commitment and attention demanding creatives. Let's look at some case studies or examples here. The Nike campaign of Just Do It was coined by their founder, Dan Weeden, which stays with Nike even till today. Then, Is It Shoes for Nike, 1988. Then the campaign, If You Let Me Play, 1995 for Nike. This is Sports Center for ESPN in 1995. Miller's High Life Man in 1998. Honda's Cork in 2003. Heineken Beer Run in 2005. And Coca-Cola's Happiness Factory. Now moving on to number 3, the audience, or I may say the customer for whom the ad is made. These are individuals at the receiving end of ads. Viewers, listeners or readers constitute the audience based on the medium of advertisement. Example, people ranging from the age of 5 to 60 are Nestlé's target audience since their products are used across these age groups. Number 4, advertising media. The communication method of broadcasting ads to audiences is called advertising media. As I mentioned earlier, television, posters, radio billboards, newspapers are few of the most known media, or I may call traditional media, and the new age media is social media. Looking at a case study of outdoor advertising. Out-of-home advertising is a widespread category that includes various imaginative and surprising forms to attract customers' attention where they work, play and shop. Conventional options for outdoor advertising include billboards, public spaces, product placements, and point of purchase. The example here is of Google's outdoor advertising ad. In this case, Google in 2014 became the first organization to rent out the world's biggest and most costly billboard in Times Square, New York. 8 stories in height and an estimated cost about $2.5 million, Google had the spot for 4 weeks. The size of the screen is roughly around the size of a football field. Approximately 300,000 pedestrians are estimated to walk past the billboard each day. The Times Square's colorfully lit billboards are among some popular outdoor advertising spaces in the world. Moving on to number 5. Advertising production firms. The organizations that transform an ad into finished form are called advertising production firms. Advertising production gamut includes photographers, copywriters, artists, layout designers, producers, and typographers. Moving on to number 6. Government authorities. Advertising can be indirectly or directly be influenced by government authorities that execute the rules and regulations. For instance, in India, it is illegal to broadcast tobacco and liquor advertisements on mass media platforms like radio and TV. Looking at a specific case study of surrogate advertising in India, Mr. Ramodas was a former Union Health Minister of India. He disputed the name of Bangalore's Indian Premier League cricket team, Royal Challengers Bangalore. The rationale? It was an obvious surrogate advertisement for a liquor brand known as Royal Challenge. Although the Supreme Court of India noted that the team wasn't called Royal Challenge but was called Royal Challengers, on a lighter note, it was observed on the bench that only those who drink can be attracted by these things. It attributed the fact that a name would not affect any non-drinkers. So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic on active participants in advertising. These are the list of sources and links referred to for our content in the video. Let's start with the role of advertising in brand building. Registering the central values of a brand into the target consumer's heads is called brand building. The image of a brand in the minds of the customers is called a brand image. The image of brands in the consumer's minds is the basis of their purchase decision, and that's what advertising is trying to do here. Now, ways of building a brand with the help of advertising include: first, bringing creativity in advertising. Next, taking the help of brand ambassadors in your ads. Next, selecting the right media. Ensuring you have the right symbols. Providing a good after-sales service. Product performance. Pricing of the product. And finally, the company through which the ad is being displayed. Now let's look at each one of them briefly, starting with creativity in advertising. Creative ads are created by advertisers in order to build a likable brand image. Different elements of an ad like the color combination, text, copy, headline, and slogan must be carefully selected by ad agencies. The example here is of Jeep, See What You Want to See by Leo Burnett France. Leo Burnett France created a print ad for Jeep. Every advertisement features a picture of an animal. When the image is turned upside down, it turns into a different creature. An elephant becomes a swan, a doe turns into a sea lion, and a giraffe turns into a penguin, as shown on the left. The idea is to convey that with a Jeep, you can take off wherever you like and see what you want to see. Moving on to brand ambassador. The brand and its ambassador personality must be in tune with each other. And the best example in this case is of Michael Jordan and Nike. In 1984, a 21-year-old rookie, Michael Jordan, signed a 5-year deal with Nike worth $500,000 per year. Nike was a struggling company back then, and Jordan himself preferred either Adidas or Converse. However, Nike agreed to give Jordan his signature line, which reportedly earned around $3.14 billion in 2019, and the rest is history. Moving on to number 3, the aspect of media selection. Brand image is highly influenced by the programming quality and media selection. For example, Coca-Cola used about 1760 LED screens to make this ad at Times Square. Coca-Cola has successfully come twice in the Guinness Book of World Records for an extraordinary Times Square billboard ad. The ad composed of about 1760 independently programmed moving screens that sync the screen movement with the display. The pictured illustration also changed based on the time or day of the week. Created and formulated by Radius Displays Limited, the billboard took many years to develop. Moving on to number 4, symbols. A unique brand image must be created with logos and symbols linked to the brand. In addition to that, they should also help customers recognize these brands immediately. And no one does this better than Ronald McDonald. Cheerful and warmth are what Ronald McDonald's represents. Number 5, after-sales service. A good brand image can be built in the market with the help of immediate and effective after-sales service. Let's see how. The example in this case is the Apple stores and their after-sales service. Apple stores have been a central part of its customer experience since Steve Jobs took over again in 1997. Before that, Apple customers were sold through chain stores and other authorized outlets. The company was not comfortable with this model as Apple severed ties with over 10,000 third-party retailers when Steve Jobs took over in 1997. After that, the company opened the first Apple store and overhauled its entire website. The transition from third-party sellers to running its own stores gave Apple more control over its customer service, and the rest is history. Moving on to number 6, product performance. Building a brand image is directly dependent on the product itself. A brand's image will be positively affected when the product leads to consumers being satisfied due to its performance. And obviously, advertising helps to show that kind of performance on screen. The example here is of Samsung's campaign Farewell Flat by Ogilvy. Farewell Flat, Samsung goes bold with the provocative Z Fold 2 campaign. Ogilvy New York production studio Room 121 and their team across Korea and New York produces new global campaign. It was made in collaboration with Samsung's mobile brand team. With I Have Been Loving You Too Long playing in the background, the camera pans across a pile of flat phones before ascending to Galaxy Z Fold 2 sitting on a stack of smartphones. Moving from reputation to innovation, it ends with the aggressive provocation, Farewell Flat. Stephanie Coy, Senior VP and Head of Global Marketing Team of Mobile Communication Business at Samsung Electronics said, "With Farewell Flat, we wanted to show a commitment to the future of foldables. This is not a passing fad. Creating something new is hard, but the Z Fold 2 will transform how we use our phones. Foldables are here to stay, and Samsung has boldly put the first stake in the ground. We are proud to be leading this exciting new era of mobile and call the world's trailblazers to lead it with us." And number 7, the element of price. The image of a brand can be influenced by the product price. For example, BMW, Mercedes and Audi completely bank on their pricing strategy as shown in advertisements. These cars get the image of luxury due to their high price. And finally, the company's projection. A brand image can be influenced by its company image. For instance, Dove Men Plus Care campaign Dad On by Ogilvy. Film advertisement created by Ogilvy Canada for Dove Men Plus Care. Taking a different approach this time, the common sad scene amongst most pandemic ads, Ogilvy Toronto created something different inspired by the pandemic. The Dad On video shows dads having fun during the pandemic. A series of videos showed how a dad helped make a change in an autistic child routine, a dad giving a haircut, a dad helping kids overcome fear, dads being creative, and dads helping out. So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic of role of advertising in brand building. These are the list of sources and links referred to for our content in the video. In this video, we are going to cover the topic on Introduction to Advertising. Advertising is nothing but marketing communication that engages an openly sponsored, non-personal message to promote or sell a product, service, or idea. Businesses that typically wish to promote their products or services sponsor various advertisements. This advertising is then delivered through multiple mass media channels, including traditional media such as newspapers, magazines, TV, radio, hoardings, or direct mail, and new media such as search results, blogs, social media posts, website, or text messages. Such display of the message through a medium is called an advertisement or ad or advert. Let's look at some examples. The first being a Chupa Chups uses a bit of humor in promoting its sugar-free treats, displaying ants that are actively dodging their lollipop because it doesn't contain the sugar that ants are known to crave. The next by JBL, highlighting a witty and entertaining use of negative space. JBL illustrates how one can block out the clash and chaos of the world to enjoy a little peace of mind. The next one by Nivea cleverly uses its product to create a simple crescent moon which is in perfect arrangement with the mission of the product of being used at night. The dark blue tones in the background match with the product and create the bedtime sky. Next by McDonald's. McDonald's makes you crave for their French fries by arranging their golden fries in a manner that they depict the universal Wi-Fi symbol. This campaign was to promote the brand giving free Wi-Fi to its customers. The next by Pepsi. With its fun to take on Halloween, the can of Pepsi is dressed in a cape that imitates its competitor brand. This intelligent design may take a minute to realize, but when you do, you won't forget. The next by MasterCard, showing support for both Women's Golf and the Children AIDS Foundation. MasterCard astutely uses the woman's high heel that resembles like a golf ball on tee to get its message across impactfully. Next, by McDonald's again. The campaign portrays buildings on a stormy day seen through windows soaked in rain, which is made around the customer's point of view. It strikes a strong insight that when it rains, there is nothing like staying at home and getting a McDonald's delivery. The McDelivery service becomes obvious for the spectator. Now let's look at some of the objectives of advertising. The first being informative advertising. It strives to construct brand awareness and understanding of new product or features of existing products. Example, Under Armour ads for a new product launch. The next objective, persuasive advertising, which intends to create desire, inclination, conviction, and procurement of a product or service. Example, Burger King ads targeted at its rival McDonald's. Third, reminder advertising, which intend to stimulate repeat purchase of products and services. Example, Pepsi. And finally, reinforcement advertising, which tries to convince the current purchaser that they took the right call. Example, automobile ads usually describe satisfied customers enjoying the unique features of their new car. So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic on Introduction to Advertising. These are some of the sources and links referred to for the content in the video. In this video, we are going to cover the topic on 5 M's of advertising. Let's start with the introduction. While developing an advertising program, marketing managers first need to recognize the target market and consumer motives. After that, they can make the 5 important decisions known as the 5 M's of advertising. These include mission, money, message, media, and measurement. Let's look at each one of them briefly with suitable examples. Let's start with mission. What are the company's advertising objectives? Let's understand this through the example of Coca-Cola's Share a Coke campaign. The campaign rebranded the traditional Coke logo, replacing Coca-Cola from one side of the bottle with the expression Share a Coke followed by an individual's name. Buyers were highly encouraged to discover bottles with names that held personal meaning to them, share them with friends and families, then tweeted about the experiences making use of the hashtag #ShareACoke. Australia was the first country to experience this campaign, which eventually would reach more than 80 countries over a span of 7 years. Ogilvy and Coca-Cola devised a campaign with only 2 precise objectives in mind. 1. To boost sales throughout the summer period in Australia, and 2. Interact directly with the millennial consumers. Moving on to money. That is, how much can the company spend and how to allocate the company's spending across media types. The example in this case is McDonald's. In April 2019, McDonald's spent around $50 million for the advertisement to promote McDonald's new any size $1 soft drink limited time offer and mix and match 2 for $5 deals to consumers. Moving further, the aspect of message. What must the ad campaign say? Example 1 in this case is Nike's message during COVID. At a period when both global athletes and humble joggers' day-to-day activities had been interrupted, Nike created a campaign that intends to unite us all in our new normal. Nike's Play for the World campaign, created by Whedon plus Kennedy, augments the message that everyone must do their bit for the world and play inside. The other example is Nike's You Can't Stop Us campaign. The You Can't Stop Us campaign includes photographs and videos of people exercising at home, be it in their kitchen, bathrooms, bedrooms, or basements. Along with a few well-known faces, including basketball legend LeBron James and Bollywood star Sarah Hughes, the advertisement features lesser-known and unknown health enthusiasts who strengthen the sense of all being in this COVID situation altogether. The You Can't Stop Us campaign features a split screen bringing together footage of Black, White, Asian, and Muslim athletes. Moving further, the aspect of media and measurement. Let's look at media. What media should the company use? Example in this case is Coca-Cola Share a Coke campaign. The campaign needed original content in various languages and formats, including print and TV ads, billboards, SMS messaging, websites, and social media. Consumers ended up sharing more than 500,000 photos through the hashtag #ShareACoke hashtag within the first year. Coca-Cola roughly obtained 25 million new Facebook followers in that very same year. The campaign sold more than 150 million personalized bottles. It resulted in over 1 billion impressions. As far as measurement is concerned, Coca-Cola managed to gain a 2% rise in soft drink sales that increased Coke consumption from 1.7 to 1.9 billion servings per day and make #ShareACoke the #1 global trending topic on social media. So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic on 5 M's of advertising. These are some of the sources and links referred to for the content in the video. In this video, we are going to cover the topic on advertising tools. Let's start with the introduction. Advertisements create an impact not based on what they say, but more significantly on how they communicate. Creatively executing the ads can prove to be purposeful. All advertising means have certain benefits and drawbacks. The broad advertising tools are television, print, radio, and outdoor. Let's look at each one of them briefly. Let's start with television advertising. Commonly recognized as the most potent promotional medium, television reaches a wide range of consumers. Two vital benefits of TV ads are: first, it can strikingly exhibit product properties and describe its customer advantages. And second, it can drastically depict user and usage representation, brand personality, and other intangible factors. Moving further, well-curated and executed TV commercials can still be an effective marketing medium that augments brand equity, sales, and profits. Moving on, now let's look at an example of Budweiser. Budweiser spends big on Super Bowl. Budweiser approximately paid $470 million to air 135 advertisement plugs in the 54 Super Bowls, becoming the only firm to have at least one commercial run in each Super Bowl. Following Budweiser, Pepsi was recorded as the second highest investor, spending more than $320 million, and Coca-Cola, the third, spending around $200 million. Budweiser's parent company, Anheuser-Busch, reaches over 100 million US TV viewers through Super Bowl Sundays every year and promotes vintage brands such as Budweiser and Bud Light. According to industry experts, Budweiser paid $42 million for a 4-minute ad in 2018. Moving on to print advertisement. Print media is significantly different from broadcast media. Two major print media are magazines and newspapers. Let's look at magazines. Magazines and newspapers have the ability to provide detailed product information and efficiently communicate user and usage description, as the readers can consume information flashed at them at their own pace. Also, the static nature of the visual representation in print media proves to be dynamic. Newspapers are time-bound and help in penetration, whereas magazines are usually more useful at creating user and usage imagery. Moving further, the picture should attract attention, the headline should augment the picture and drive the person to read the copy, and the copy should be appealing and pointing towards the brand name notably. Did you know? More than 55% of consumers prefer print marketing over any other advertising approach. However, it takes a great portion of print data to evoke emotions and encourage the customer's interest. Now let's look at some examples, the first being Colopotic print ad. Colopotic, an online optician that retails spectacles and sunglasses. The brand's agency made use of Van Gogh's self-portrait as a brilliant means of brand promotion, as the painting is popularly known for its blurry color scheme that doesn't eventually show sharp contrast between various shades. Colopotic cheekily placed their eyeglasses in front of the painting to expose Van Gogh's face and demonstrate the potential of their products. The next ad, from the French Ministry of Health for Children Obesity. The French Ministry of Health, after seeing the rising numbers, aimed at increase awareness concerning the increasing problem of childhood obesity by notifying parents that obesity starts at a young age. The simple yet powerful ad campaign displays an ice cream with an obese belly on the top. The next ad, from Absolute. Homosexuality has been decriminalized in England and Wales for a significant time of 50 years. But even today, it is still illegal in 72 countries worldwide and even a felony punishable by death in 8 countries. To throw light on the issue, Absolute collaborated with the LGBTQ charity Stonewall and BBH London to plan these series starring close-up shots of same-sex kisses, with many of the models coming from places where such kisses could land them in prison or worse. Moving to radio advertisements. Radio is an effective medium that can be used for effective market penetration. 93% of US residents of age group of 12 years and above daily listen to radio for nearly 20 hours a week on average, and the numbers seem to be more or less steady even today. People opt for listening to radio generally while driving in the car or outdoors, and to draw success, radio networks have started operating on multiple platforms with an active digital presence which is flexible and allow listeners to tune in anytime, anywhere. Its advantages are that the stations are extremely targeted, advertisements are comparatively low priced to produce and place, and short closings for scheduling them and allow them to respond quickly. Its apparent drawbacks are that it lacks visual imagery. Next, outdoor advertisement. Out-of-home advertising is a widespread category that includes various imaginative and surprising forms to attract customers' attention where they work, play, and shop. Conventional options for out-of-home include billboards, public spaces, product placements, and point of purchase. The first example in this case is Google. Google in 2014 became the first organization to rent out the world's biggest and most costly digital billboard in Times Square, New York. 8 stories in height and estimated to cost around $2.5 million, Google hired the spot for 4 weeks. The size of the screen is roughly around the size of a football field. Approximately 300,000 pedestrians are estimated to walk past the billboard each day. The Times Square colorfully lit billboards are among some popular outdoor advertising spaces. Next, Coca-Cola, which used 1760 LED screens to make this ad. Coca-Cola has successfully come twice in the Guinness Book of World Records for an extraordinary Times Square billboard. The ad composed 1,760 independently programmed moving screens that sync the screen movement with the display. The picture illustrated also changed based on the time or day of the week. Created and formulated by Radius Displays Limited, the billboard took many years to develop. The next example from Pond's, about clean pores, fight pimples by Mike Sciam for Pond's. Next, public spaces. Public spaces ads are ads that appear in unusual places like movie screens, airplane bodies, health equipment, classrooms, sports arenas, elevators, etc. Transit ads on buses, subways and passenger trains have become a helpful way to reach working women. Street furniture such as bus shelters, kiosks and public areas also come under this type of advertising. Marketeers in fact can even buy space in washroom, toilet stalls and above urinals where office workers visit an average 3 to 4 times a day roughly for 4 minutes every visit. Now let's look at some of the examples of public spaces. The first one, Wake Up with Maxwell House. Created by Ogilvy China, Maxwell's House Coffee wakes one up by pumping the viewers with a great rush of adrenaline and encouraging them to take the elevator to work. The advertisement was run in China in 2008. The next, the divorce elevator to the office of a divorce lawyer, Sabina Stobrow. A typical wedding picture was put up on the lift doors in a law firm in Germany. Sadly, every time the doors opened, the couple split up. The ad targeted people in the same situation and provided the name and the office floor of a divorce lawyer. And the final example of a product placements. Advertisers spend $100,000 to $500,000 to get their products to have a cameo appearance in movies or television. At times, product placements like these are the effect of a bigger network advertising deal. Still, small product placement shops to maintain ties with prop artists, set designers and production officials. Some companies get product placement at zero cost. Now let's look at an example. Tomorrow Never Dies, history-making $100 million product placement deal. BMW, Avis and L'Oreal were among the few brands of corporate partners that contributed to Tomorrow Never Dies, a Bond movie in 1997, a history-making $100 million product placement deal. According to AMC, 100% of its production budget was covered by the 18 Bond flick with the brand tie-ins by 8 main partners. So that's it folks, this brings an end to the topic on tools of advertising. These are some of the sources and links referred to for the content in the video. In this video, we are going to cover the topic on advertising plan. Let's start with the introduction. In order to find the best options available for a company to attain its advertising objectives, different options need to be analyzed and identified. This is done through advertising planning. A course for implementing advertising strategies and creative media is set with the help of advertising plans. Marketing, advertising plan and corporate plan must collaborate with each other. Now let's look at the stages in the advertising plan, starting with the first one, background. Data should be collected by the marketing manager on marketing problems. Advertising strategies must concentrate on the opportunities a company wants to make use of and on its weak areas. The data on the areas of opportunities that might show itself in the future, on the competitors and their strategies, and on the distinctive problems that the company faces must be gathered. Next, situational analysis. The examination of the strength, weakness, opportunities and threats at the stage of advertising is included in the situational analysis. The data about the brand, the product and the market strengths are collected and examined in the same. Moving on to the marketing objectives. Corporate objectives and the result of situation analysis are the basis of marketing objectives. Marketing functions are related to these. Achieving sales growth about 30%, becoming a market leader in a span of 2 years, and increasing the market share by 25% are some of the examples of marketing objectives. Moving on to the fourth, advertising objectives. Since a large amount of money is spent by companies on the planning and execution of advertising campaigns, understanding advertising objectives is very important. 3 categories entail advertising objectives. First, sales objective. The type of advertising objectives that are based on sales. Example, the rise in the market share, the rise in the percentage of sales. Next, communication objectives. Only with well-defined communication objectives can advertising be successful. And third, behavioral objectives. Driving the customer to buy a product through communication is a way for companies to achieve their sales objectives. Moving on to the fifth, target audience. Performing market segmentation leads to a company deciding on its target demographic. In market segmentation, a heterogeneous market is divided into smaller homogeneous groups of customers that showcasing characteristics. Then a few of the groups are selected as a target audience for a specific market offering. And finally, The segmentation can be behavioral, psychographic, demographic, or geographic depending upon the marketer. Next stage, brand positioning. Focusing on specific features of a brand is called positioning. Through brand positioning, customers are given an exact and clear idea of where a brand is in the provided product segments. It is a marketing strategy where companies try to create a unique image in the minds of the consumers in comparison to their competitors. Some of the positioning strategies include the customer benefit approach, repositioning approach, price quality approach, competitors approach, product users approach, and product class approach. Moving on to the 7th stage, creative strategy. Steps written below are part of a creative process developed by Alexis Osborne. They are: first, orientation, that is pointing up the problem. Second, preparation, collecting information. Third, analysis, that is dissecting the relevant material. Fourth, hypothesis, piling up an alternative way of ideas. Next, incubation, letting up to invite illumination. Next, synthesis, assembling the pieces together. And finally, verification, assessing the resultant ideas. Moving on to the next, message strategy. The most important part of the communication process is the message. The image, attitude, idea, thought, or information that an advertiser might want to communicate to its customer is called the message. 4 mentioned factors are essential to creating a message. First, the content. Second, the format. Third, source. And finally, the message structure. Then comes at number 9, media strategy. Choosing media vehicles, media scheduling, and determining the reach of media is called media strategy. Features of the product, objectives of advertising, media research, and budget for advertising are responsible for choosing the correct and appropriate media mix. The following factors need to be referred while executing a media strategy. Media mix, which is a collaboration of different types of media. Every advertiser needs to rely on more than one media type to successfully reach its consumers. Next, reach. It refers to a number of people that a message carrying media vehicle reaches at a given span of time. And finally, frequency. It is a number of times the same person is exposed to the advertiser at a given period. Moving to the 10th stage, advertising budget. A restriction is levied on the expenses related to advertising through the advertising budget. Advertising budget also specifies the allocation and manages how and when payments are made over a given period of time. The allocation expenses for advertising campaign is the basis of media planning, advertising strategy, and execution. And finally, implementation and evaluation of the plan. The most difficult part of a plan is its execution. To successfully implement a plan, an individual has to be authorized by an advertising manager who is then given the responsibility of executing a plan. After the advertising plan is executed, an analysis takes place to determine whether the advertising plan achieves its objectives. Analysis, when done regularly, helps in making changes on time. So that's it, folks. These were the 11 stages under the advertising plan. These are some of the sources and links referred to for the content in the video. In this video, we are going to cover the topic on creativity. Let's start with the introduction. Being unconventional and relevant is referred to as being creative. The ability to solve communication problems with the help of new, distinct and relevant ideas is called creativity. 4 rules of creativity entail: first, the product must be made appropriate for the customer. Second, it must assure the consumer. Third, it shouldn't be freestanding. And fourth, the commercial must be product-centric. Moving on, the importance of creativity in advertising. There are various reasons. First, it is a backbone while building marketing mix. That is, sales promotion, personal selling, sponsorship, public relation, and direct marketing. It makes the product stand out by shifting the consumer's feelings and attitude towards buying the product over its competitors. Third, encourages thinking by providing information. Fourth, it can test and convince. Fifth, it provides for purchasing and testing. Sixth, generates brand loyalty. Seventh, boring ads can be turned interesting with a creative touch. And finally, company objectives are attained with the help of creative ads. Moving further, the creative process. 5 steps in James Webb Young's model of creative process. First, immersion, the process of collecting data by submerging oneself in a problem and by background research. Next, digestion, contending with the collected data and working with it. Third, incubation, using your subconscious instead of conscious to solve a problem. Fourth, illumination, the realization of getting an idea, situations like Eureka, I have it. And fifth, reality or verification, analyzing an idea to see if it works and then planning its practical execution. Moving on, before Young, Graham Willis, an English sociologist, came up with a similar 4-step concept. First, preparation, that is collecting background data when problems require study and examination to be solved. Second, incubation, that is isolation to think of ideas. Third, illumination, that is revelation regarding a solution. And fourth, verification, confirming whether the idea is appropriate after rectifying and fine-tuning it. Now moving on to some examples. First, Volkswagen. Volkswagen released a 3-page guide that helped readers take a test drive. Users could install an app and try out different features. These included the lane assist mode. This mode makes the phone vibrate if it comes too near to the side of the road. Next, the ad by British Airways Look Up campaign. British Airways in its Look Up campaign utilized a little digital magic. A billboard in London was set up to recognize planes overhead, including their flight number and origin. The fascination was that it illustrated the breadth of its flight plan in real time. This innovative campaign also motivated viewers to look up at them. Next, a campaign by Heineken. Heineken in its billboard made it look like there is a hand grabbing the bottle. This look was achieved with the help of a 3D billboard. Next, a campaign by Garnier. The optical illusion with ad caption can be translated to for any hair type. Finally, the example of P&G reinventing client and agency relationships. Marketing and advertising reinvention means the reinvention of agency partnerships. P&G's chief brand officer, Mark Pritchard, said, "Agency reinvention has saved $1 billion and is leading to more creativity, more agility, greater entrepreneurship, and transforming our organization and culture." Nearly 30% of P&G's media spending is slated in-house. Pritchard said, "We are implementing fixed and flow agency models with a fixed amount of work at a core partner that requires experienced creative, like core brand campaigns, supplemented with a flow to the work approach through flexible sourcing from smaller, more agile shops." Due to this new model, P&G's core agencies are being entirely reinvented. Moving further, for instance, it is co-located with Grey Midwest on Febreze and many additional brands. This created a borderless technique which resulted in collapsing creativity from months to hours. A fast cycle work was created on Crest and Oral-B by a co-located model with Publicis Agile Lion. An integrated group of multiple agencies was brought together because of a completely fresh model. This group, named Woven, built to work on Tide. The Secret brand has also evolved into an agency itself. It develops and produces advertisements for 1/10 of the cost. It has also reduced the time frame from 5 months to 1 month. For instance, the Secret all-strength no-sweat video was shot in P&G's Cincinnati office. P&G's home office was the location for the opening scene. The associate brand director of the brand was the producer for the ad. The brand manager was the creative director for the ad, and the songwriter was the general manager of the company. And it's winning in the market, Pritchard said about the video. So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic on creativity. These are some of the sources and links referred to for the content in the video. In this video, we are going to cover the topic on advertising appeals. Let's start with the introduction. Advertising messages can be based on a variety of appeals. These appeals are divided into 2 parts: informational or rational appeals, and second, emotional appeals. Let's look at each one of them briefly with suitable examples. Let's start with informational or rational appeals. A customer's useful, functional, or practical need of a service or product is the basis for informational appeals. The reasons for using a certain brand or its benefits are highlighted. The different types of informational approaches are: first, feature appeal. The qualities of a service or product are highlighted in ads that are based on feature appeal. Example, the Apple Watch Series 6 highlighting health benefit features. And the other example, the Apple iPhone 12 focusing on the privacy feature highlighted by Apple. Next, competitive advantage appeal. An advertiser directly or indirectly compares his brand to communicate superiority in an ad based on competitive advantage appeal. Example in this case is Burger King trolling McDonald's. Burger King has been pulling the ultimate prank on McDonald's for an entire year and no one even knew about it. Burger King revealed it has been hiding a Big Mac behind every Whopper photographed in its 2019 advertisements. In a cheeky video, Burger King said, "We have a confession to make." You see, throughout 2019, we were keeping a bit of secret. Actually, a Whopper of a secret. Everybody knows our burger is more generous than that burger. So we thought we would prove it by hiding a Big Mac behind every Whopper we photographed. A Big Mac appeared in every single one of Burger King's ads that year. Burger King said the secret had been a Whopper to keep. The video goes on to show several ads that Burger King says contain a hidden Big Mac, as indicated by the photos on the left. It claims a Big Mac was sneaked into a billboard ad, a bus billboard, and even behind several whoopers on Instagram. The video ends by Burger King saying, "Such a shame, you couldn't see it." Moving on, the fast food giant then thanks McDonald's for having its back throughout the year. Next, price appeal. Sales, low prices, and special discount and offers are announced in ads based on price appeal. Example, in this case, are pizza joints, for instance, Domino's. Fourth, news appeal. Any kind of news is highlighted related to the company, service, or product in an ad is based on news appeal. For example, Amazon wins FAA's approval for Prime Air drone delivery service. Next, product, service, or popularity appeals. This ad type highlights the quality of a brand since it is popular and encourages new customers to start using it. Example in this case is the recent launch of the Apple iPhone 12, focusing on the most powerful iPhone ever. Next, we move on to emotional appeals. The psychological or social needs of a service or a product are the basis of emotional appeals. For some consumers, the emotions of a brand are more important than the data of its characteristics and features. According to various advertisers, when a product for a brand is not very different from its competitors, appealing to the consumer's feelings work better since a lot of their purchase decisions in such cases depend on their emotions. The feelings of consumers can be influenced positively by using sex, humor, and other appeals that entertain, arouse, and excite them. For example, Nike's campaign Find Your Greatness focused on underachievers being motivated from within. Next, example of Dove Men Plus Care Dad On by Ogilvy. Film advertisement created by Ogilvy Canada for Dove Men Plus Care. Taking a different approach among the common sad seen and other pandemic ads, Ogilvy Toronto created something different inspired by the pandemic. The Dad On video shows dads having fun during the pandemic. A series of video ads showed how a dad helped make a change in an autistic child's routine, a dad giving a haircut, a dad helping kids overcome fear, and dads being creative and dads helping out. Next example, the World Wildlife Fund. The World Wildlife Fund uses striking imagery to get to their message of helping to save endangered species across. With their desertification campaign, they use striking images of some of the most animals turning to dust, with the image on the right indicating the same. This kind of an ad creates an emotional response in people and starts conversation about what can be done to help. For instance, WWF's What If They Were Gone campaign. Next, and the final example by Fiat. You either see one or the other. Texting and driving is still a major problem on the world's roadways. Fiat, in collaboration with Leo Burnett, developed a campaign to try and curb texting and driving. Texting while driving diverts your focus, and that ad uses an ambiguous image of a dog, as you can see there, to portray and bring attention to a real problem. So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic on advertising appeals. These are some of the sources and links referred to for the content in the video. In this video, we are going to cover the topic on ethical issues in advertising. Let's start with the introduction. A branch of social science called ethics is a subject that tries to answer what is correct and what is incorrect. Advertisers have to show good and true ads. Only genuine facts about the merchandise should be displayed, and distortions and inaccuracy must be avoided. But that's not the case. Let's look at the forms of unethical advertising practiced by a few brands. First, exaggeration. Advertisers brag about their products in ads. They puff up a commodity to make it look greater than it actually is. The example in this case could be the Axe ads of fallen angels. The Axe showed flying angels falling from the heavens once they smelled deodorant in its ad. Next, pressure tactics. Some businesses use pressure tactics to influence customers to purchase from them. Third, misrepresentation. It is drawing customers to a product by giving out wrong information through advertisements. Fourth, false statistics. Some ad agencies use fake numbers to say their products are the best. Fifth, poor taste. Some advertisers use vulgar scenes that have nudity, double meaning, and sexual innuendo. Example, Axe deodorants have sexual innuendos and nudity in some of their ads. Next, complete lies. Few advertisers lie to their customers to fool them. Example in this case is one of the products of Nivea. Nivea said about its body lotion that its regular usage significantly reduces body size. The gel cream touted to reshape and slim the body by shedding up to 3 centimeters on targeted areas. The US Federal Trade Commission reached a settlement with Birsoff, ordering the company to stop claiming that it can significantly reduce consumers' body size. It was fined $900,000 over misleading advertising, including one TV commercial that featured a woman squeezing into her old favorite jeans after using the cream on her stomach and thighs. Next, unhealthy brand comparisons. A few advertisers use brand comparisons. They may confuse consumers about what product they should buy. In this case, DHL making fun of competitors. Their poster, which says "Fed Up," is making a mockery of both FedEx and UPS. This poster is implying that if you are fed up with the poor service provided by FedEx and UPS, then make DHL your go-to shipping courier. In response to this, FedEx came back with their own marketing campaign that mocked DHL. The image below shows FedEx van with a bit of a paint job. It sends a message to DHL that FedEx is always one step ahead. Next, surrogate advertising. This is used for advertising products that have been banned. This is done by advertising another product that has the same brand name. Please note, surrogate advertising has been covered in detail in another video. Now let's look at some more examples of unethical advertising. First, Danone Activa yogurt. Ads for Danone's popular Activa brand yogurt landed the company with a class action settlement of $45 million in 2010, according to ABC News. The Activia ad campaign claimed that the yogurt has special bacterial ingredients. Next, Red Bull. Red Bull was sued in 2014 for its slogan, "Red Bull gives you wings." The company settled the class action case by agreeing to pay out a maximum of $13 million, including $10 to every US consumer who had bought the drink since 2002. That made Red Bull alter its logo and change the spelling of the word wings. Next, Kellogg's Rice Krispies. Kellogg said Rice Krispies could boost your immune system. The Federal Trade Commission ordered Kellogg to halt all advertising that claimed that the cereal improved a child's immunity. The case was settled in 2011. Kellogg agreed to pay $2.5 million to affected consumers, as well as donating $2.5 million worth of Kellogg products to charity, according to Law 360. Next, New Balance shoes. New Balance said its shoe could help wearers burn calories. New Balance was accused of false advertising in 2011 over a sneaker range that it claimed could help wearers burn calories, according to Reuters. On August 20, 2012, New Balance agreed to pay a settlement of $2.3 million, according to Huffington Post. Next, Hyundai. Hyundai and Kia over-advertised its car's horsepower. Hyundai agreed to pay more than $85 million in settlement in 2004 after it overstated the horsepower by roughly 10% of cars imported to US. The class action lawsuit was on behalf of around 840,000 people who bought the 1996 to 2002 models of the Hyundai Elantra sedans and the Triburn Sport Coupes. And finally, the importance of truth in advertising. The standards of ethics should be high for the long-term benefits of advertising. Advertisers can build confidence among consumers by saying correct things about their products. They will also build goodwill. Advertising firms that use ethical methods have a competitive advantage in the long run. Ethical advertising also makes consumers loyal. Ethical ads allow brand image to grow. And finally, increasing the value of a brand is brand equity. It is more than its physical asset. So that's it, folks. That brings an end to the topic of ethical issues in advertising. These are some of the sources and links referred to for the content in the video. In this video, we are going to cover the topic on DAGMAR. Let's start with the definition of DAGMAR. DAGMAR is a marketing expression that stands for Defining Advertising Goals for Measured Advertising Results. DAGMAR is a tool used in marketing. It is used to calculate an advertising campaign's result. Moving further to what is DAGMAR. This method is employed by many promotional planners to plan their advertising and marketing strategies. DAGMAR is used to set advertising goals. It measures how well the campaign did vis-a-vis the plan. The method was developed by Russell Corley in 1961. He promoted the idea that good advertising tries to communicate and not sell. Advertisers find out if the message provided consumers with enough understanding and information about a product. It also measures whether consumers know about its benefits. Goals of DAGMAR model. There are two core goals here. First, the communication task, and second, defining the objectives of the communication task. Let's look at the communication task. In this method, every purchase goes through 4 stages. First, awareness. Communication tasks have to make the customer aware about the product or brand. Second, comprehension, to make sure that the consumer has the correct information about the product and its advantages. Third, conviction. This step is for the communication to convince the consumer that the product is best suited for them. And finally, action. It aims to encourage the consumer to make the purchase. Moving on to the second, defining objectives in the DAGMAR approach. This is the second most crucial job of DAGMAR. It has to set out the goals of communication task or advertising that is to be made. These are the aims of advertising in DAGMAR. First, define the target audience or market, that is the target audience. The target audience needs to be decided upon before the task begins. This must be as accurate as can be. The target, whether older people, adults or young people, should be segmented.
Many types of segmentation can be employed to set the target audience. Next, be concrete and measurable, as in the communication objective. The task have to be an accurate description of what the advertiser wishes to get from the communication. Upscale the brand image, increase brand presence, enter new markets, or grow overall sales. Whatever the objective is, should be precisely stated. Third, identify the benchmark and the degree of change expected. That is the desired change. What is the extent to which you want to change the consumer's awareness, attitude, or perception? If a consumer knows about the product, do improve their attitude. The extent of change will be the goals of the communication task. This needs to be preset. And finally, specify a period during which to accomplish the objective. That means the time horizon. How much time are you fine with investing to complete the communication task? A product needs more than a month in the market to create awareness. This is the reason why big advertisers try to introduce the product for 3 months. They spend the next 3 months talking about the features and benefits. This increases brand recall and elevates brand acceptance. A preset period aids better measurability. Moving on to DAGMAR model's example. Let's say a firm sells study material of a specific brand, say A. The advertising objective will be, first, to raise awareness among 75,000 students in city A from 5 to 15% in 9 months. They should be convinced that it will allow them to clear the exams. The objective of the advertiser would be target audience, 75,000 students studying for the exam in city A. Communication objective, they should identify the brand A as a top quality one. They should think it will help them pass their exams in 2021. Third, desired change, raise to 15% from 5%, and the time horizon in this case is 9 months. Moving on to a real life example of Coca-Cola's #ShareACoke campaign. About the campaign. The Share a Coke campaign increased Coke sales. It brought the brand to a new generation that saw the soda as outdated. The campaign needed multiple teams and departments to coordinate across the globe. The agency, Ogilvy and Coca-Cola, created the campaign with 2 clear goals. Target audience, it was launched first in Australia. By its end, it reached 80 countries over 7 years. The media used, this needs original content. Many formats and languages were used. Some of these were social media and websites, SMS messaging, billboards, TV ads, and print. Campaign objective, they wanted to use the summer period to increase the sales in Australia. This is the primary or the first goal. The second goal was to reach out to a younger, millennial audience. Results of the campaign, at the time of the initial release in Australia, consumption among teenagers grew by 7%, with 2 out of 5 people in the country buying a Share a Coke pack. 378,000 Coke cans were printed at kiosk and overall sale increased by 3%. On social, 76,000 virtual cans were shared, Facebook traffic increased by 870%, and 170,000 tweets were made by 160,000 fans. Worldwide, over 1,000 names have been printed on cans and bottles. More than 150 million personalized bottles have been sold. #ShareACoke even became the #1 global trending topic. It resulted in over 1 billion impressions. The campaign won several awards at Cannes Lions Festival. And finally, raised US sales by 2.5% after a decade of decline and continues to be expanded in new and innovative ways that are still driving revenue now. So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic on DAGMAR. These are some of the sources and links referred to for the content in the video.
In this video, we are going to cover the topic on advertising campaign. Now let's start with what is an advertising campaign. An advertising campaign is a set of messages sent out for advertising which share a theme and idea. These come together to form an integrated marketing communication campaign. Advertising campaigns use diverse media channels over a particular time frame and reach out to audiences they have distinguished. The theme of the campaign is the underlying message, which the promotional activities will spell out. It is the main focus of the campaign. It decides the motive for multiple individual ads and the other marketing channels that will be employed. Advertising campaigns are designed to meet a target or multiple targets. Moving on, examples of such targets can be creating a brand, increasing brand awareness, boosting the rate of sales conversion, etc. The rate of failure or success in reaching these target goals is calculated through effectiveness measures. Next, set to step up an advertising campaign. First, decide what the advertising goals are. Second, conduct research studies. Third, decide what has to be promoted. Fourth, figure out what the target audience is. Fifth, decide on a theme. Sixth, decide on an advertising budget. Next, fix campaign timings. Eighth, pick advertising outlets. 9, design the advertising graphics and message. And then finally, once the campaign is on, you can calculate the effect of it. Moving on to types of advertising campaigns. First, conventional media campaign. A conventional media campaign depends on old media outlets to raise brand awareness or market a service or product. Regular media outlets include direct mail advertising, radio, print advertising, and TV advertisements. Next, campaign for seasonal push. Such campaigns advertise for seasonal services, products, or sales. Such campaigns are regularly used by firms that go through a seasonal spike in business. These businesses can be retail chains and restaurants. Next, campaign for a product launch. Releasing a new product requires campaigning. Product awareness has to be created. Consumers should know what they need. A campaign for a product launch is carried out by the producers and the distribution partners. Next, campaign for boosting brand awareness. In a brand awareness campaign, the main aim is to create or strengthening the firm's brand awareness. Larger brands may carry out brand awareness campaigns every now and then to keep their popularity high. Example, brands like Budweiser. Next, campaign for rebranding. Such campaigns are used when a firm has to advertise a change. This can be a new logo or a name or merger with another business. These campaigns are also employed by brands that have become less popular with their audience or those that want to return to business. And finally, it could be a contest marketing campaign. Contest marketing campaigns have been around for a while, but their popularity soared because of social medias in terms of giveaways by famous influencers. These campaigns boost organic website traffic. They create awareness for a firm and its products. Now let's look at advertising campaign examples. First, a broad summary of a few examples. Famous advertising campaigns, one being from Procter & Gamble, Thank You Mom in 2012. KFC's campaign, wherein they were out of chicken, so they came out of the campaign that said FCK, apologizing for not having chicken in most of the stores. Then a campaign by Old Spice, which was The Man Your Man Could Smell Like, which was a rebranding campaign for them in 2010. Apple's Get a Mac, that we'll briefly talk about. Coke's Share a Coke campaign in 2011, which was worldwide famous. Nike's original Just Do It campaign. Burger King's campaign around its famous Whopper. Nike also came out with a COVID-specific campaign which said, if you ever dreamed of playing for millions around the world, now is the chance. Play inside, play for the world. Red Bull's Stratos campaign, Marlboro's The Original Marlboro Man campaign, and Dove's Real Beauty campaign. Now let's look at specific individual campaigns, starting with advertising campaign of Apple, Get a Mac in 2006, in which John Hodgman as PC and Justin Long as Mac. One of the most triumphant campaign ever for Apple was Mac versus PC debate. These commercials in an extremely clever manner give the audience all the information that they need to know about the product. The objective of this commercial film series was to connect PC users, specifically Windows users, with a cliché of an unpopular nerd, while at the same time depicting Apple Mac users as creative, young, attractive and lucky. The success of the commercial can also be owed to the fact it was done in a tasteful way without being overt. Result, Media Arts Lab, TBWA, created the Get a Mac campaign. It was awarded the Grand Effie at the 39th Annual Effie Awards at the Metropolitan Pavilion in New York. There was an increase of 42% in the market share. It made record sales and had great cultural influence. All of this was a result of Get a Mac campaign. Next, Apple's campaign, The Underdogs. Apple tried the long-form storytelling marketing campaign which featured 4 colleagues that were clear underdogs at work. After a chance run-in with the boss, the team has to prepare an idea and pitch it to her in the next 2 days. This fast-paced, quirky video shows the team creating a prototype, brainstorming branding ideas, and consulting with other departments and preparing for the presentation. All the frantic work and the collaboration happens on trusted Apple products. Taking the same campaign forward, the underdogs work from home during the pandemic. The lockdown edition of Apple at Work, The Underdogs, humorously captures all the frustrations, video blunders, and family responsibilities that come with working from home. It manages to keep us all entertained while flawlessly articulating Apple's products like the iPad, iPhone, iMac, and MacBook. During the 7 minutes of the video, we are shown how the underdogs deal with similar problems just like the rest of us. They deal with the fact that an old project had been resurrected and they need to start work on it while at home, not to mention the budget slash and the time scale changes. Moving forward to another example of Expedia's Let's Take a Trip. The travel industry suffered huge losses during the COVID-19 outbreak. Planned holidays were delayed. Instead of disappearing, Expedia took an innovative approach that made use of customers' mood at the time. It promised that holiday planning would start the following year again. Let's Take a Trip shows a couple recreating holiday experiences at home in a beautifully shot stop-motion film directed by Victor Hagelin and developed with the agency Team 1. The final line, "Imagine the places we will go together," brings out the positive message that normalcy will return. Expedia promised to be around to aid people's upcoming holiday planning. So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic on an advertising campaign. These are some of the sources and links referred to for the content in the video. In this video, we are going to cover the topic on role of advertising in product lifecycle. Let's start with the introduction stage. The product is introduced into the market in this stage, after which the sales grow steadily. Sales can be improved while ensuring that products survive in the market with the help of brand awareness. Let's look at the work of advertising in the introduction stage. Product information can be provided, buyers can be encouraged to buy a product, brand awareness can be created, and a positive attitude can be developed with the help of advertising in this stage. Aggressive and direct product marketing constitute the hard sell approach, which is the focus. Advertising budgets can be increased more than the sales revenue by advertisers. Example in this case, IKEA's entry into India. IKEA spent around Rs 150 to around 180 crores on advertising in India. It has opened its second outlet in Mumbai, and the focus now has shifted to Delhi and Bengaluru. Next is the growth stage. A company's profit and sales develop in the growth stage while the product prospers in the market. The sales can be increased by bringing in new customers, which is possible with the help of extensive and intensive advertising. Thus, advertising in the growth stage entails improving the brand image, loyalty, magnifying corporate image, acquiring a competitive edge, and increasing market share is the main focus. The hard sell approach might be continued by advertisers in environments that have a lot of competition. And in environments with very little competition, soft sell approach can be implemented. Moving further, a high advertising budget may be continued with. Example, Absolute Vodka, the Absolute Bottle campaign. Absolute bottles don't have a distinct shape. It is, however, the easiest to recognize bottle around the globe. Absolute's campaign included print ads were a huge success. These showed the bottles in the wild. The ad continued running for 25 years. It's the longest ad that has run without any interruption. It consists of more than 1500 separate ads indicating bottles in different situations. Absolute's vodka market share was only 2.5% when the campaign was launched. It finally came to an end in the early 2000s. By then, Absolute was importing around 4.5 million cases in the US per year. This is half of the total vodka imported in the country. Moving on to the third stage, maturity stage. The company tries to maintain its brand loyalty in this stage where it is already established. Since companies spend money on advertisements to sustain market share and the sales are stable, profits typically reduce. The advertising in the maturity stage is typically about retentive advertising. The example in this case is Nivea Sun. These ads came with a phone plug and very thin solar cells. These additions use the sun's rays to keep the cell's battery charged. That way, people could stay longer at the beach knowing that their cells wouldn't switch off. Moving further, the sunscreen was advertised in Brazil. Nivea, along with Giovanni plus Daft FCV, published special ads which were solar-powered chargers for cell phones. These ads came with a solar panel and a cell phone plug. This let consumers leave them to soak up the sunlight and charge the phones. In the meantime, they could enjoy the sun and the beaches of Rio. Moving on to the fourth and the final stage, decline stage. Sales reduce in this final stage due to the launch of improved and new products in the market and due to a change in the customer preferences. Thus, the advertisement in the decline stage might not help keep the brand afloat. The advertising budget may reduce, and reminder advertising might be used by advertisers. So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic of role of advertising in the product lifecycle. These are some of the sources and links referred to for the content in the video. In this video, we are going to cover the topic on role of advertising in low and high involvement products. Let's begin with low involvement product. An item that is inexpensive and does not benefit a customer status is called a low involvement product. The time required to take decisions related to the purchase of a low involvement product is lower than other products. Regular use products like soft drinks, toothpaste, and soaps are examples of low involvement products. Moving further, factors influencing low involvement product. First, the nature of the product. They are low priced and perishable in nature. Next, price of the product. Customers spend very little time making decisions with respect to purchases because they are low cost. Third, nature of the customer. Middle class consumers who are cost conscious and are mass buyers are the main target audience of low involvement products. Fourth, nature of competition. Since the entry barriers are low, they face huge competition. To ensure that the product stays in the market, companies opt for intensive sales promotion and advertising. Next, stimulus factors. Free gifts, exchange offers, and discounts are one of the many sales promotion methods used by companies owing to the mass competition in the market. Moving on, The suggested advertising model for low involvement product entails first, cognitive, that is to develop awareness, followed by cognitive, that is a trial purchase, and finally affective, that is interest and desire. Moving forward, a customer's knowledge about a brand and its product is highlighted through brand advertisements. Since the product is low in cost, customers can be driven to buy a product with the help of continuous exposure to advertisements. A customer of this kind may buy products again and again of a brand that he or she is attracted to. Let's look at the example of a low involvement product, in this case, Budweiser. Budweiser spends big money on Super Bowl ads. Budweiser approximately paid for $70 million to air 135 advertisement plugs in 54 Super Bowls, becoming the only firm to have at least one commercial run in each Super Bowl. Following Budweiser, Pepsi was recorded as the second highest investor, spending more than $320 million, and Coca-Cola, the third, spending around $200 million. Budweiser's parent company, Anheuser-Busch, reaches over 100 million US TV viewers through Super Bowl Sundays every year and promotes vintage brands such as Budweiser and Bud Light. According to industry experts, Budweiser paid $42 million for a 4-minute ad in 2018. The next low involvement product we're going to talk about is Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola used 1,760 LED screens to make this ad at Times Square. Coca-Cola has successfully come twice in the Guinness Book of World Records for an extraordinary Times Square billboard. The ad composed 1,760 independently programmed moving screens that sync the screen movement with the display. The pictured illustration also changed based on the time or the day of the week. Created and formulated by Radius Displays Limited, the billboard took many years to develop. Now moving on to high involvement product. The kind of item that is high in price and adds to the status of a consumer is called a high involvement product. The time required to make a decision related to buying such a product is higher, since a consumer might run into financial loss by taking the wrong decision. Moving further, factors influencing high involvement product. First, nature of the product. High involvement products are generally long-lasting and have distinguishing features as compared to its competition. Some of the examples are washing machine, refrigerators, and TV. Next, price of the product. High involvement products are expensive and might range from a couple of thousands to even millions in some cases. Jewelry, luxury cars, and luxury watches are examples of these products. Third, nature of the customer. While purchasing a high involvement product, customers take their time and spend a lot of energy into deciding on the purchase. Fourth, stimulus factor. A stimulus can lead a consumer into a purchase. For instance, a customer might buy a luxury car as soon as it hears that there is a discount on it due to a special occasion. And finally, situational factors. The involvement of a customer while buying a product can be affected due to situational factors. Moving on, the suggested advertising model for high involvement product. In this case, first comes cognitive, which is awareness, followed by affective, which means generating interest and desire, and finally connotative, that is trial purchase. If you noticed, interest and desire come after awareness in this particular model because for consumers to pay a large amount of money for a product, there needs to be some interest and desire aspect filled in there because luxury products are typically sold on the aspect of desire. Moving forward, brand awareness is created through continuous advertisement exposure. A customer might be taken by a product or a brand due to sales promotion messages. Depending on the stimuli applied by a company and how much a consumer wants to buy a product, a consumer might end up buying a product. Example of high involvement products. Insurance firms and luxury automobile brands splurge on advertisements to get them the required attention. The first example, Aviva, the campaign names, they spent about $13.4 million on the campaign. In 2008, British insurance company Norwich Union modified its name to Aviva with an intention to be noticed. The brand spent around $13 million on creating an ad starring Bruce Willis, Ringo Starr, L.A. Macpherson, and Alice Cooper. The next ad in question is for Chrysler. The campaign imported from Detroit in 2011. They spent about $12 million on the campaign. Launched in the luxury Chrysler in 2000. The ad revolved on the rugged history of Detroit, where Chrysler and Eminem share a lasting and colorful past that was best portrayed in the line, "The hottest fires make the hardest steel." And the final example is a combination of low involvement products and high involvement products. Advertisers spend about $100,000 to $500,000 to get their products to have a cameo appearance in movies or television. Now, typically in a movie can also have a low involvement product being promoted and a high involvement product being promoted. Let's see how. At times, product placements like these are the effect of a bigger network advertising deal. Still, small product placement shops do maintain ties with prop artists, set designers, and production officials. Some companies get product placement at zero cost. The example in this case is the movie Tomorrow Never Dies, which had a history-making deal of $100 million product placement deal. BMW, Avis, and cosmetic brand L'Oreal were among the few brands of corporate partners that contributed to the movie Tomorrow Never Dies, making it a $100 million production placement deal. According to AMC, 100% of its production budget was covered by the 18th Bond flick, with brand tie-ins with more than 8 main partners. So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic on role of advertising in low and high involvement products. These are some of the sources and links referred to for the content in the video. In this video, we are going to cover the topic on role of different elements of advertisements. The role of different elements of advertisements entail logo, slogan, jingles, and illustration. Let's look at each one of them briefly with some examples. First, let's begin with logo. Ownership, origin, or association is demonstrated by logos. Logos can be anything. It could be the name or trademark of the corporate written in a unique manner, word marks with text only. Or it could be abstract designs. The designs can be entirely unassociated to the word, the name of the corporate, or activities of the corporate. Examples: Netflix, Coca-Cola, and Kit Kat are examples of brands with powerful word marks and no simultaneous logo other than the name. Whereas Nike swoosh, Mercedes star, Olympics rings, and Rolex crown are some excellent examples of abstract logos. Moving further, logos also entail the emblem, which is a logo that consists of text inside a symbol or an icon. These logos manage to have a conventional appearance and can make a noticeable impact. Due to these perks, they often tend to be the go-to choices for many schools, corporations, or government offices. Examples in this case could be Starbucks, Harley-Davidson, and the National Football League. And the other type of logos are acronyms. When a logo comprises of letters, it falls under this category of logos. They usually revolve around brand initials of businesses with fairly lengthy names. Examples: UPS, SAP, ESPN, IBM, and HSBC. Moving on to slogan. Small phrases that convey illustrative or compelling information about the brand are called slogans. They frequently appear in advertising. They can also have a significant role in the packaging and other facets of the marketing strategy. They can act as valuable hooks or handles. These hooks or handles assist the consumers in understanding the essence of a brand, what the brand is, and what makes it unique. Examples: the first one being on Snickers. Snickers slogan "Hungry, grab a Snickers" not only appeared in the ad but also on the wrapper of the candy bars. Next, Nike's "Just Do It", LG's "Life's Good", L'Oreal's famous slogan "Because You're Worth It", Coca-Cola's "Open Happiness", McDonald's sticking to the charm of "I'm loving it", and KFC's "It's finger looking good". Moving on to another example of Kit Kat. In 1986, Kit Kat released a good quality slogan, "Give me a break." Turned out to be infectious and very memorable. When Ken Shadman wrote the tune, he was a junior copywriter at DTP Nidham. Michael A. Levine, a classical violinist, was brought on as a composer. It was a huge success all over the country. Chance the Rapper gave the trademark jingle of Kit Kat a modern update in 2016. Moving on to the third, jingles. Harmonious messages which are composed encircling the brand are called jingles. Jingles are typically composed by professional songwriters. They frequently have catchy hooks and choruses. Due to the catchiness of it, they become stuck in the minds of the listeners, irrespective of whether they want it or not. Jingles can be thought of an extended, melodious slogan, due to which it can be classified as a brand element. Although, because of the musical nature, they cannot be transferred as other brand elements. Jingles can be used to communicate brand benefits. However, sometimes they communicate the product meaning in an indirect and somewhat abstract manner. The most famous jingle is by Oscar Mayer. Oscar Mayer's "I Wish I Was an Oscar Mayer Wiener" in 1965 turned out to be a major hit. Moving on to the final, illustration. A picture made to typically complement a text or narrative for mass distribution is called an illustration. Illustrations are generally seen in print or digital format. They can appear in various forms like books, cartoons, flyers, posters, advertising, magazines, etc. A contemporary illustration may use a broad range of techniques and styles. It can include drawing, painting, collage, printmaking, montage, multimedia, digital design, 3D modeling, etc. Let's look at some of the examples of brands who are doing a brilliant work as far as illustration is concerned. Number one example is by Jeep's campaign "See What You Want to See" by Leo Burnett-France. Leo Burnett-France created a print ad for Jeep. Every advertisement features a picture of an animal. When the image is turned upside down, it turns into a different creature. An elephant becomes a swan, a doe turns into a sea lion, and a giraffe turns into a penguin. The idea is to convey that with a Jeep, you can take off whenever you like and see what you want to see. The next illustration, Sea Shepherd Conservation Society, You Eat What They Eat by Ogilvy. Ogilvy made a campaign for Sea Shepherd Conservation Society. It is a global non-profit organization which worked towards conservation of marine wildlife. Ogilvy created a print ad campaign showing various fishes misshapen by numerous plastic items. The tagline reads, You eat what they eat. It is meant to motivate viewers to assist ocean cleanups by donating to Sea Shepherd. Next, the example from KFC. KFC, one of the most beloved fast food chains globally, ran out of chicken. The event was marked as a tremendous disaster for the brand that developed the entire empire on its star product, chicken. In order to combat this mishap, the brand had to shut nearly 1,000 outlets based in the US momentarily. However, leveraging this opportunity, their advertising agency played with the popular KFC acronym and created a print ad that says FCK. It was a great marketing trick and a cool way to apologize that got the viewers' attention. The final example of illustration, a giant chocolate billboard for Cadbury and Oreo. Instead of presenting a complete image of the product, one could play with the concept of showing the product in use, as we can see in this case of a Cadbury bar. The next one by Oreo. Letting the brand's advertising combine with current events makes the ad more exciting and relevant for the viewer. Here in the example, Oreo made use of the current buzz about an eclipse that garnered significant public attention. This technique can be used not only for natural phenomena as well as citywide events, holidays, and major activities. So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic on role of different elements of advertisements. These are some of the sources and links referred to for the content in the video. We are going to cover the topic on advocacy advertising. Let's start with the introduction. Advocacy advertising uses marketing to push a cause or message. It is a commercial or public communication that tries to affect the opinion of the public on some economic, social, or political matters. Funds for advocacy advertising can be collected from private advocacy groups, corporations, non-profit organizations, etc. Advocacy advertising is used more for non-profit endeavors. Moving forward, most non-profit organizations use some advocacy advertising to push their agendas. Businesses sometimes use this method to push for or against legislation that is good or bad for their business. Commercial advertising is usually used to promote a product or service. On the other hand, advocacy advertising is used to support and advance the interest of a group or the public. Now, who's involved in advocacy advertising? Advocacy advertising is used for more than just political campaigns and non-profits. Rather than promoting a product or a service, if a group tries to raise awareness by publishing an ad, then we can say that it is using advocacy advertising. This includes lobbyists, advocacy groups, corporations, and other interest groups. Let's look at an example of Kellogg's. The famous breakfast cereal company Kellogg's used social media for the 2011 Share Your Breakfast ad campaign. It went on to win awards. In 2012, Kellogg's received the Best Advocacy Social Media Campaign Award in the Internet Advertising Competition. Kellogg's convinced users to submit breakfast photos on Facebook. This led to the company donating free breakfast to schools through a non-profit. Their aim was to donate more than 1 million breakfasts to kids who might need them. Next, let's look at the channels of advocacy advertising. They include 2 channels. First, traditional advocacy advertising, which includes advertising through television, radio, magazines, and newspapers. And the other, modern channels of advocacy advertising, which includes first, social media, which can deliver a message straight to a support base. This is why it is very useful in advocacy advertisements. Next, email, which can send personalized messages through emails to target a section of supporters. Next, display ads. Search and display ads can create awareness about the cause among people who are searching online. This requires advertising that is specifically targeted to people who may support the cause. Next, website. A website can be used as a core for digital advocacy ad campaigns. People who visit your website are the most valuable audience. This is because they are the nearest to the action. They can be made to sign up to volunteer, donate, or get involved in other ways. Now, moving on to more examples of advocacy advertising. In this case, the World Wildlife Foundation, which partnered with Snapchat to promote the #LastSelfie campaign. The campaign's basic idea is to use the original timed message feature to point out that endangered species are running out of time while connecting with millennials through selfies. #LastSelfie creatively uses the new Snapchat mobile social platform. Don't let this be my #LastSelfie was used to create donations to the World Wildlife Foundation. Moving forward, young internet users are difficult to target through traditional media. It is this segment that was approached. The campaign was a success. WWF achieved their monthly funding goal within the first 72 hours of the start of the #LastSelfie campaign. Some of the numbers from the campaign: posted by 40,000 Twitter users in 1 week, seen by 120 million Twitter users in 1 week. It took 3 days to reach the monthly target, which is almost 50% of all Twitter users. Moving on to the next example of Airbnb. Airbnb promotes inclusivity with the #WeAccept campaign. The cause of immigration and the worldwide refuge crisis motivated Airbnb to put across their point of view on this controversial issue. They tried to inspire people to become more inclusive. The Airbnb #WeAccept campaign was launched during the Super Bowl. The #WeAccept campaign managed to get 33,000 tweets in the Super Bowl's first half. Its impressions reached 87 million. It also helped launch Airbnb's plan to give short-term housing to about 100,000 people in need. It wants to reach this number in half a decade. Moving forward, the next example on Starbucks. Starbucks UK teamed up with Mermaids for the #What'sYourName campaign. Mermaids is an organization that supports young, gender diverse and transgender people. Starbucks mixed social media engagement and TV commercial. It is a campaign driven by values. It centers on Starbucks' desire to honor people's chosen names and be inclusive of people of all genders. The campaign uses a famous part of Starbucks experience, the writing of the customer's name on the side of the cup. It promises to be respectful of names that customers want to be called. Starbucks encouraged people to post photos online of their mermaid tail cookie using the campaign hashtag. This was used to raise funds for mermaids. The next example, Make-A-Wish Foundation, the Bat Kid campaign. Miles, a 5-year-old, was a fervent Batman fan. He was also a leukemia patient at the time. This little kid got his wish fulfilled on a grand scale. The event was organized by a Make-A-Wish Foundation. The marketing agency helped design a social media plan that guided them throughout the project. Make-A-Wish Foundation and the city of San Francisco built a huge replica of the Gotham City together. They then sent him on an adventure through the city for a day. It got more than 500,000 #BatKid hashtags and 1.8 million social impressions. Make-A-Wish Foundation donations greatly increased, causing its site to crash. There were 12,000 foundation volunteers who made sure BatKid's every wish was met. They let Miles feel like he was an actual superhero. Brand advocacy gained greatly because social media was filled with this story. People couldn't seem to get enough of it. It was one of the greatest brand advocacy successes in recent memory. Miles reached the age of 10 in November 2018. It marked 5 years in remission. By then, he was considered cancer-free. So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic on advocacy advertising. These are some of the sources and links referred to for the content in the video. In this video, we are going to cover the topic on surrogate advertising. Let's start with the introduction. The type of advertising employed to endorse banned products under the wheel of another product is called surrogate advertising. It delivers a message which is connected to the product through the promotion of a different product. This method is adopted for the promotion of products like liquor, cigarettes, as they are banned in countries like India. The restricted commodity is not showcased directly to consumers. The product that is banned is disguised under another product under the same brand name. As a result, whenever the brand is mentioned, it is linked with the main product that is banned. Moving further, surrogate advertising could be adopted due to several reasons. The main reason is to work around the ban on promotion for a specific type of commodity. Surrogate advertising uses a product of a relatively close variety or totally varied category to instill the name of a brand into the minds of the customers. Example, in the case of alcohol, the close category would be club soda and mineral water. And products of totally varied category from alcohol would be playing cards or music CDs. After looking at these advertisements, customers correlate these products to the banned products. This influence on the behavior motivates indirect advertisements. Moving further, the history of surrogate advertising. The concept of surrogate advertising was created in Britain. The housewives in Britain started protesting against advertising liquor. They claimed that it provoked their husbands. The objection reached a point where liquor advertising had to be outlawed. Forced with no other option, brand owners chose to promote soda and fruit juices under the brand's name. This idea later developed as surrogate advertisements. Moving on to surrogate advertising in India. Since 1995, India has had a strong stance pertaining to the ban of liquor products and tobacco. After comprehensive research from the Indian Ministry of Health, it was found that liquor and cigarettes have negative impact on the health of a person. This resulted in enforcing a ban on these products. The Indian government has a notion that these products make an individual inactive and unmotivated. It is also a belief that it is harmful to the mental health of a person. The combination of these facts and beliefs resulted in an eventual ban on the publicity of these products throughout all media channels. Moving further, the government is now enforcing a ban on surrogate advertisements as well. Companies are turning towards event organizing, event sponsorship, corporate films, and many such innovative and integrated marketing communication strategies. Although surrogate advertising is still an ordinary practice. As per media reports, almost INR 600 to 800 crores is spent across all mediums annually on surrogate advertising in India, and 70% of this is spent on TV advertising. Let's look at the top 5 surrogate advertisers in India. In terms of TV, it is the brand Seagram's. In terms of radio, it is Royal Stag Mega Cricket. In terms of print, it was Blenders Pride Fashion Tour. And in terms of digital, it was the Budweiser Experiences. These are numbers from August 2019 to July 2020. Moving on, a court case involving IPL team and surrogate advertising. Mr. Ramodas was a former Union Health Minister of India. He disputed the name of Bangalore's Indian Premier League cricket team, Royal Challengers. It was an obvious surrogate advertisement for Royal Challenge, the liquor brand. Although the Supreme Court of India noted that the team wasn't called Royal Challenge but was called Royal Challengers, on a lighter note, it was observed on the bench that only those who drink can be attracted by these things. It attributed to the fact that the name would not affect any non-drinkers. Now let's look at some examples of surrogate advertising, and in India, the king of surrogacy being Kingfisher. The man behind the strategy for Kingfisher's surrogate advertising was Vijay Mallya, the embattled liquor tycoon. He promoted various products and services like bottled water, soda, calendar, an IPL cricket team, and even an airline under the brand name Kingfisher. Other few examples include Imperial Blue's Men Will Be Men campaign, McDowell's number 1's number 1 Nyari, Carlsberg Club Glasses, Tuborg's Zero Soda, and the very famous Bacardi music CDs. To conclude, the creative brain behind Imperial Blue's Men Will Be Men ads, Ajay Golat, former CCO of Publicis WW India, said, "Alcohol advertising was not as stringent as cigarettes. Cigarette advertising is practically over. The only medium they can advertise on is the pack itself. You can have cigarette ads, you can't have cigarettes in print or TV. At most, you can put the branding on the shop which actually sells cigarette. Alcohol brands, however, advertise for extensions like music CDs, glasses. Though legitimate, everyone knows what they are really advertising." So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic on surrogate advertising. These are some of the sources and links referred to for the content in the video. In this video, we are going to cover the topic on disruptive advertising. Now let's start with what is disruptive advertising. Disruptive advertisement refers to an effective ad which is unexpected. It's an ad that breaks past noise. Disruptive advertising is employed for one-time use. It allows a business to grab a person's attention for a while. It increases engagement on social media. Moving further, this is the age of the customer. Firms must always be competitive. They have to rethink old school marketing methods. They must rethink the rules. Disruption involves risk. The firm must rely on their intuitions. They must reject the norms. Disruptive advertising is about disobeying all the advertising rules that are in practice. The marketer should not be fine with the status quo. They must seek to disrupt the way it's done. Moving further, the benefits of disruptive advertising. First, change how your brand is seen. There are many advantages to disruptive marketing. One can change how a brand is seen. A firm might be seen as one of many selling boring products that aren't unique. Disruptive campaigns can make the firm look like it understands the consumer needs and can meet them. Next, reach out to customers. Disruptive advertising lets a firm interact with its customers at a more intimate level. This gives better results than reusing the same old content. It provides space for storytelling and encourages creativity. Next, prevent rip-offs. No rival will be able to replicate the effect once a disruption has been made. This is a huge benefit to this type of advertising. And finally, makes paid media not very necessary. The disruptive advertisement campaigns can be run without a massive budget. This is a major advantage. Disruptive campaigns and unconventional messaging are geared towards attracting media and increasing likes. It can be a written press coverage, retweet, or blog post. The more consumers pass on the message, the less money is needed to be spent on traditional media campaign. Moving on, how to build a disruptive advertising campaign. It entails these 9 steps. First, there should be industry expertise. Second, a customer's needs should be well understood. Third, one has to subvert expectations. Fourth, using humor is a good idea. Fifth, unconventional combinations can be used. Sixth, the brand shouldn't hesitate to cross certain boundaries. Seventh, the campaign can make its responses emotional. Eighth, one has to think like a customer. And finally,
Uniqueness about the campaign is the key. Moving on to disruptive advertising examples. Starting with the first one, Burger King. The ad Burger King's Whopper with the moldy burger has experts divided. Burger King made a campaign to highlight its Whopper that it has no artificial preservatives. Burger King grabbed eyeballs when it released its new ad. It featured a Whopper turning moldy. The ad was launched by the chain owned by Restaurants Brand Limited. They said they would not use artificial preservatives, flavors and colors while making their most well-known products in the States. CNBC gauged the reactions of many experts. Many thought that showing real burger getting moldy was a great idea. Next, Game of Thrones. This campaign was launched in Great Britain. This was a truly epic campaign. A dragon skull the size of a bus showed up on Dorset's Jurassic Coast. This coast is well known for its dinosaur fossils. This was done as a tribute to the launch of Game of Thrones Season 3 on Blinkbox, a streaming platform. The skull was 9 foot tall and 40 feet long. It announced the launch of Game of Thrones' third season. Next, another campaign by Game of Thrones was seen in New York Times. HBO released this excellent ad on the New York Times on a Monday. It showed a dragon's shadow over 2 pages of fake news stories, again for the launch of a new season. Next, brand Coca-Cola. This is a marketing gimmick by Coca-Cola in Dubai. Coca-Cola kept special phone booths in labor camp when foreign workers lived. A call from UAE to the workers' countries of origin cost $0.91 per minute. These workers mostly come from countries in the subcontinent in Asia. A bottle of Coke in Dubai fetches $0.54. Each cab allowed them to make a 3-minute call. The workers didn't have to spend $2.73. They could contact their families only for $0.54. On average, a worker makes $6 a day. That is why the phone booths were very well received by workers. Next, a brilliant outdoor campaign by Jeep showing its off-roading capabilities. The next in line is a hoarding by BMW Mini showcasing its xenon lights. Kit Kat, Sprite, or indulging beach lovers for a quick shower. At the same time, Sprite getting the maximum attention due to this perfect innovative campaign. And the final one between Coca-Cola and Coca-Cola Light. As we can see in the picture, on the left are staircases with Coca-Cola's regular Coke being painted there and Coca-Cola Light on the escalator on the right, indicating that the ones who drinking Coca-Cola Light do save a lot in calories and there is no harm in taking the escalator instead of taking steps. Moving on, why does disruptive advertising work? We live in times when things are ever changing. Services, products and technology are always changing and growing quickly. Because of this, consumers have almost unlimited options. They are also burdened by a lot of information that they receive on a daily basis. Any marketer must differentiate their products or business from the crowd, as we saw in examples earlier. Disruptive advertising serves to meet this goal. It helps a firm reach out to a worldwide market efficiently. It helps a business to get noticed by consumers. That's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic on disruptive advertising. These are some of the sources and links referred to for the content in the video. In this video, we are going to cover the topic on subliminal advertising. Now let's start with the definition of subliminal advertising. Also known as a hidden message, subliminal messages are devised to pass below the standard perception levels. They are perceptible to the deeper or unconscious intellect, but not to the conscious intellect. Moving on to what is subliminal advertising. They are optical or audible stimuli undetectable by the conscious intellect and are placed in songs, TV commercials or other forms of media. The convincingness of advertisements is reinforced and enhanced with such messages. Completely different messages can also be conveyed through this form. Even if subliminal messages are vigorously searched for, they cannot be found by the conscious intellect or mind. The reason being, the stimuli for our conscious understandings are things that are above the standard perception levels, that are things that are visible and audible, whereas subliminal messages are below it. Moving on, in advertising, subliminal messages use consciously undetectable stimuli, as in images or words, which cannot be detected. It is very common for subliminal messages to be conveyed by flashing words or images for a brief period, probably less than 0.003 seconds, making them undetectable. James Vickery first instituted subliminal messaging as a concept in advertising, after which Vance Packard in 1952 restated it in his book The Hidden Persuaders. Moving on, is subliminal advertising effective? Consciously undetectable subliminal messages constitute optical and audible stimuli. They are placed inside songs, TV commercials, digital advertisements, prints, or other forms of media. They do not aim to be overpowering, but to be effective. They are used to strengthen or heighten an advertisement's convincingness or convey a completely different message. Now let's look at some of the examples of subliminal advertising. First,
KFC's Dollar Snacker. KFC also drew negative attention in 2008 when it aired a commercial for its Dollar Snacker featuring a green dollar bill in the lettuce. Why it doesn't work? First of all, it's sloppy. Secondly, it's a dollar bill. No one needs to be reminded that KFC's end goal is to make us spend money. Next, Burger King. Burger King's new 7-inch burger that considered one beef patty, sauteed onions, American cheese and fabulous steak sauce was advertised by them in 2009. The advertisement consisted of an amazed woman facing the burger with an open mouth. The caption reads, "It will blow your mind away." For an ad that's trying to sell a sandwich, it's laden with sexual metaphor. There was no need to include this kind of imagery, particularly for a product that has absolutely nothing to do with sex. Next in line, by Wendy's. After 1983, Wendy's revised their logo in 2013 for the first time. Although it retained most of its original components, Wendy's included the word mom on Wendy's ruffled collar, as we can see, to create a positive image in the customer's mind. Next, FedEx. FedEx is harboring a hidden message. The white space between E and X clearly outlines an arrow. Why it works? FedEx uses the arrow to highlight speed and efficiency, the brand's biggest benefits. Next, the SFX magazine. SFX magazine pivots around fantasies and sci-fi entertainment, but that isn't evident from its cover. Its cover is designed to make SFX look like sex, especially with the cover page featuring women. Next, Toblerone. At first glance, the Toblerone logo looks like your average Swiss mountain range. But take a look closer and you'll notice that logo features a bear standing on its hind legs, expertly hidden in the design. Why it works? This is a clever tribute to the Swiss city of Bern, nicknamed the City of Bears, where the chocolate company was founded. And finally, the example of Pepsi versus Coke. It is subtle but effective. Pepsi launched an advertisement stating that it is a horror to receive a Coke when you desire a Pepsi. Coke, in response to the ad, used the ad itself and made Coke seem like the hero in a cape. Why it works? It works so well because the two classic competitors each managed to make consumers see their product in a positive light while casting a clear shadow on the competition. It's designed to make you feel something without explaining why, and it manages to do just that. So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic on subliminal advertising. These are some of the sources and links referred to for the content in the video. In this video, we are going to cover the topic on institutional advertising. Let's start with the definition of institutional advertising. It is any kind of advertising dealing with the promotions of business, institutional, organizational, or related units. The main goal of institutional advertising's promotional ventures is to motivate the support for a company, boost its reputation, and build a good image of the company. It is also called corporate advertising. With institutional advertising, the company promotes itself instead of promoting its products. Products are not sold directly in institutional advertising. The work done by a company in environmental, educational, health and other fields is made known to the public through institutional advertising to boost its reputation. Moving on to the objectives of institutional advertising. First, to promote the company's beliefs, ideas, vision and aim. Next, to build on the image of a company as a whole instead of creating and building on the image of a service or product. Third, to encourage the positive qualities that set the company apart, like dependability, commendable customer care or lower price. And finally, to build and preserve the company's goodwill in the market. Next, medium of institutional advertising. Radio, television, print and digital advertising are the most popular means for institutional advertising. Moving on to advantages of institutional advertising. First, dealing with a negative attitude. It is one of the most promising ways of dealing with the negative image of a company in the eyes of its consumers. The negative image of various companies is countered through institutional advertising. Next, increase the company's awareness. Using institutional advertising to boost the company's image aids in improving brand awareness. Next, developing brand identity. Following one theme throughout the use of institutional advertising can aid in building a united brand identity. Next, encourage investors. Rather than just the company's products, the whole company's image motivates the investors. Next, there's a possibility of aid from the government. Benefits and aids are received from the government by the companies that participate in good CSR activities. Next, builds a subdued sales pitch. A subdued sales pitch can be built with the help of institutional advertising. The consumers subjected to institutional advertising will be unaware of the sales pitch used to attract them towards the company's products. Or we may say, instead of hard selling, institutional advertising is more like soft selling. And finally, institutional advertising helps in humanizing the brand, to find allies and friends in the audience and instill a sense of inclusion within the employees and training them.
Now moving on to the disadvantages of institutional advertising. First, return on investment. Many specialists believe that in short run, institutional advertising adds to the company's advertising cost and does not get appropriate returns. This is because it concentrates on promoting the company instead of its products. Next, misguided consumers. Like product advertising, institutional advertising tends to misguide consumers because of which they feel like they have been misguided by the company. And finally, a positive impact may not be created. Institutional advertising is only a PR activity and does not guarantee an increase in the sales of services or goods. Moving on to institutional advertising examples. Starting with the first one, McDonald's campaign on night workers. Social ad campaigns are created by government agencies in order to spread awareness among people regarding programs and social issues. Anti-pollution, anti-corporation, child immunization, and anti-dowry examples of some of these programs. A huge number of people who work hard all through the night are not noticed by the public. This campaign by McDonald's featured a group of invisible staff where they are shown tucking hospital patient ins, as in the nurses, stocking supermarket shelves late in the night. In the end, 3 night workers are shown gaining recognition at McDonald's. The advertisement ends with a catchphrase, "If you are awake, we are awake." As in, McDonald's serving these late night workers who need a quick bite late in the night. Next, P&G's Thank You Mom campaign. For the 2010 Olympics, P&G wanted to turn its corporate reputation into a competitive advantage by leveraging its global scale and uniting its 34 brands under one voice then. At first blush, P&G does not have an obvious connection with the Olympics, but every Olympic athlete has or had a mom, and P&G loves moms. That became the connection that drove the creation of a powerful idea that would play out across a broad range of content and experiences. In 2010, Thank You Mom was the biggest and the most successful global campaign in P&G's 175-year history, with about 500 million in global incremental and P&G sales, 76 billion global media impressions, over 74 million global views, and over 370 million Twitter interactions. Moving to the next one, this campaign by McDonald's focused on the aspect of diversity and how diversity is important for them. Next, a campaign by Coca-Cola, Arctic Home, raising awareness of climate change and how it's affecting the polar bears. Coca-Cola and McVery Freeman partnered to create an unprecedented corporate social responsibility campaign. In 2011, Coca-Cola set out to launch the largest integrated marketing campaign ever undertaken by the company, all centered on the conservation of the brand's mascot, the polar bear. Next, a campaign by Dove, Real Beauty. The vast differences between the way we see ourselves and others see us was highlighted by this campaign called Real Beauty by Dove. And finally, a campaign by Levi's, Go Forth by Viren Kennedy. Levi's Go Forth, a new voice and campaign for Levi's brand and Levi's 501 jeans. The campaign is inspired by the passion Walt Whitman felt for the potential of America and promise of the future. Films were created to demonstrate Levi's awareness and relevance in the world through America and Pioneers. Oh Pioneers, accompanied by readings of Whitman's poem of the same name. So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic on institutional advertising. These are some of the sources and links referred to for the content in the video.
In this video, we are going to cover the topic on evaluating advertising effectiveness. Let's start with the introduction. The administrative exercise of relating the results of advertising to the traditional standard of performance and objectives is called assessment or evaluation of advertising. This evaluation is done to estimate the actual value of advertising and its performance. Evaluation of advertising is also called advertising effectiveness. It is an endeavor to know and understand the properly designed message of the company has reached the highest number of prospects at the minimum practical cost. Now let's look at the methods of evaluating advertising effectiveness. There are 2 major methods. The first, communication effect research. Communication effect research is also called copy testing. It attempts to find out if an advertisement is communicating successfully. Marketers perform this test 2 times, once before an ad is put into the media and once after it is broadcasted or printed. Now there are several methods for copy testing. First, questionnaire answer. The questionnaire answer method involves a draft of an advertisement coupled with some pertinent questions. The draft is sent to target consumers or experts of advertising along with questions, and they have to answer. These answers and opinions are then analyzed after collection. It is determined based on this analysis whether a proposed advertisement is adequate or not. Moving on to the second, recall and recognition test. In recall and recognition test, customers are asked to see and listen to ads carefully. The customers are then asked to recollect the content of the advertisement. Magazines are circulated to consumers wherein test ads are placed. Later, these customers are contacted and interviewed. This method of recall and recognition is mostly used to ascertain the usefulness of an advertisement. Next, direct rating method. Customers are right away asked to rate the advertisement. These ratings are then evaluated to determine the success of an hour advertisement. This process is called direct rating method. Next, theatre test. The theatre test method is when random consumers are invited to watch a potential new television show along with some advertisements in a theatre. Consumers mention the brands of their preference in different categories before the show begins. The consumer is again asked to choose a preferred brand after viewing is completed. The potential changes in preferences measure the commercial's power to persuade. Next, on-air test. During this test, respondents are engaged to watch a show on a normal TV channel. Sometimes the respondents could be chosen on the basis of them having already viewed the show. After this, they are made to answer questions regarding the commercial they recall to have seen. Next, laboratory test. In laboratory test, an apparatus is used to calculate perspiration, heart rate, blood pressure, etc. to measure the bodily reaction of the consumers after watching the advertisement. And finally, neuromarketing. The implementation of neuroscience in the marketing field is called neuromarketing. Neuroscientists commonly use EEG or functional magnetic resonance imaging technology to track the functions of the brain. In a similar manner, neuromarketing tests directly use brain imaging, scanning, and other technologies to measure brain activity. This helps to quantify a subject's reaction to particular products, packaging, advertising, or any other marketing element. Now let's look at a few examples of brands which have adopted neuromarketing. First, PepsiCo Lay's. When releasing the baked Lay's product, women were the main focus of the campaign. The idea for single-serve packaging and the corresponding ad campaign was created with the help of the biometric response of these women. Next, Cheetos. Frito-Lay, a subsidiary of PepsiCo, has a brand of cheese tasting puffs named Cheetos. They hired a neuromarketing firm to understand how people's brains reacted when they ate Cheetos. After using the EEG technology on a group of enthusiastic, consenting subjects, it was found that people gained some sort of guilty pleasure from the feeling of getting their fingers smeared with orange dust. The brain scanning technology helped the firm to ascertain that customers responded passionately to the detail that eating Cheetos gives them orange fingers due to the residual cheese dust. Next method for evaluating advertising effectiveness is a sales effect research. The sales figure of a company helps measure the effectiveness of an advertisement. This effectiveness is evaluated through product surveys, response rates, questionnaires, toll-free numbers, and recognition tests. Sales effect research involves two methods: historical data and experimental research. Let's look at historical data. Researchers can calculate the impact of sales with historical data. This includes usage of statistical techniques which are advanced in nature. These techniques correlate the sales of the past to the advertising expenditure of the past. Historical data method observes a part of sales in correspondence to advertisements in the past, either on a current or lagged basis. In case the sales of the company have gone up in the past after a particular commercial has been released, then that commercial is considered to be highly effective. Next, experimental research. Some researchers measure the impact of advertising on sales with the help of experimental research. This particular method involves dividing the entire sales territory into 3 to 4 sub-areas based on some type of uniform data. In each group, the number of times an advertisement is inserted is different. In the first group, an advertisement is placed X number of times. In the second group, this number is doubled. In the third sub-area, the amount is tripled, while in the fourth sub-area, the amount is quadrupled. The sales of all these areas are then observed and compared and measured. This analysis is done with the intention of trying to find out the difference and impact of increased advertising efforts. Now let's look at some examples. First, Nike. Campaign Nike Just Do It. The slogan Just Do It is a trademark of Nike. It was coined in 1988 at a meeting with an advertising agency. Just Do It is not mere a slogan but one of the core components of Nike's brand. And the advertising agency to coin the slogan for Nike was Wadden plus Kennedy. Dan Wadden, the founder of the agency, gives the inspiration credit for the Nike slogan to Gary Gilmore's last word, "Let's do it." Result: the Just Do It campaign empowered Nike to significantly grow its share of North American domestic sports shoe business from 18% to 43%. From 1988 to 1998, the worldwide sales soared from $877 million to $9.2 billion. Moving on to the next example of Apple, campaign Get a Mac campaign. One of the most triumphant campaign ever for Apple was a Mac versus PC debate. These commercials, in an extremely clever manner, give the audience all the information that they need to know about the product. The objective of this commercial film series was to connect PC users, specifically Windows users, with the cliché of an unpopular nerd while at the same time depicting Apple Mac users as creative, young, attractive and lucky. The success of the commercial can also be owed to the fact it was done in a tasteful way without being overt. Result? Media Arts Lab TWA created the Get a Mac campaign. It was awarded the Grand Effie at the 39th Annual Effie Awards in New York. There was an increase of 42% in the market share. It made record sale and had a great cultural influence. All of this was the result of the Get a Mac campaign. And now let's look at the importance of evaluation. It is a common opinion that a lot of advertising expenditure is wasteful. This deliberation can be avoided by proper evaluation. An evaluation helps in finding out whether advertising is in fact wasteful, and if that is true, how much of it is so. It supplies useful guidance for all media planning in the future by revealing the strong points and weak points of various media. The draft of a message or a copy can be tried out in advance. This will help in adopting preventive steps and reduce waste. Process of evaluation not only shows the advertisements which are less productive, but also gives reasons as to why they are less productive. This points out the sources for high effectiveness. So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic on evaluating advertising effectiveness. These are some of the sources and links referred to for the content in the video. In this video, we are going to cover the topic on advertising agency. Let's start with the introduction. According to the American Marketing Association, an advertising agency is an autonomous business firm, comprises of imaginative, inventive, and business people. These group of people create, assemble, and put advertisements in advertising media. This practice is carried out for a seller who's looking for buyers for their products and services. Agencies have evolved into more detailed and specialized entities. These can be owned to the exceedingly intricate marketing and selling difficulties in the current period. A unique set of skills, knowledge, and technique is needed to plan, prepare, and place advertisements. Moving further, functions of advertising agencies. The spectrum of services an advertising agency provides to its customers can be categorized as follows. First, planning the ad campaign. Formulating the statement for brand positioning. Formulating the primary essence or attraction to be utilized in the advertising campaign. Organizing the features of the advertisement. Next, organizing the storyboard or music for radio or TV commercial and filming the commercial. Creating the advertisement. Next, implementing the advertising campaign by placing it in the chosen media mix. And finally, reserving duration and slot in the chosen media mix. Next, planning below the line activities. Agencies have to also deliver creative programs in order to gain consumers. It is just one element of promotion mix. Many companies expend a fairly huge fraction of their budget on below the line activities like PR, publicity, sales promotion, event sponsorship, direct marketing, point of purchase advertising, etc. And finally, an advertising agency needs to provide support systems. Before the creation and after the launch of a campaign, a research input should be given. Services in the area of market research are also provided by advertising agencies. Services pertaining to the popularity of several media, which helps clients in media planning, is also provided. Now moving on to the structure of advertising agencies. First, Creative Service Department. Creative directors are head of this department. Art directors and copywriters are the subordinates of creative directors. The creative work of an advertising agency sets it apart from its competitive agencies. Hence, the strength of an advertising agency is the creative department. Next comes account management. The relationship between a client and agency depends on the client services director who is in charge of account services. Account means clients. Therefore, it is crucial for the client services director to have knowledge about both businesses. The duty of acquiring the authorization from clients for advertising plan, storyboards, rough ad, media schedule, and execution of the campaign lies with the client service director. Next, media department. The accountability of organizing a media plan lies with the media director. Some big agencies divide the media requirement into two parts, A. Media planners and B. Media buyers. A comprehensive strategy for clients is formulated by media planners, and all the negotiations of the deal with the media could be TV, radio, print, are managed by the media buyers. Next, management and finance. In order for an advertising agency to withstand and thrive in the future, it needs to organize its finances appropriately. It's crucial for an agency to make profit despite an extraordinary creative team. Next, other services. The structure of an advertising agency is determined by number of services it offers. It is possible that agencies may have different departments specializing in direct marketing, marketing research, publicity, PR, and participation in exhibitions and trade fairs. Now moving on to the types of advertising agencies. First, full service agencies. The clients are provided with all the services related to promotion and advertising. Full service agencies offer creative services, media research, media planning, media buying, and services associated with the implementation of the ad campaign. Next, creative boutique services. Services related only to creative work are delivered by creative boutique agencies. They give ideas for the campaign and help with the execution of the ideas. Services like media planning, buying, or research are not included. Next, modular agencies. Only a part of the advertising obligation is executed by modular agencies. Clients would need the help of other agencies to get the rest of the work done. For instance, one advertising agency can be employed for copywriting and paid based on the job done. Fourth, specialist agencies. Certain agencies gain prominence working in specific areas. These agencies are called specialists. Being a specialist has its own advantages. They understand regulatory, the needs of the clients, and the marketing environment. Next, agency networks and subsidiary of large agencies. Having branches worldwide is not reasonable for any agency. As it turns out, it is not cost effective. Although it is common for a minor advertising agency to unite with a big advertising agency, this practice helps in establishing an internal, that is national, or an international network and helps satisfy the needs of the clients. Next, in-house agencies. Sometimes a department is set up by an advertiser, as in the client, to conduct the operations of an advertising agency. This has two prime benefits. Negotiating directly with the media owner can save expense for securing space and time. Next, the client enjoys complete attention of the agency. It can grow into a full service agency over time, which now services many other outside clients. And finally, global agencies. Global agencies function at an international level. They primarily deal with multinational corporations projects. It is essential for the global agencies to provide regional connect in their campaigns. Big companies come to global agencies to create and implement advertising campaigns in various countries. Now let's look at an example of the big four global agencies which have several sub-agencies under them. The first one being WPP. WPP is a multinational communications, public relation, advertising, technology and commerce holding company. It has its headquarters in London, England. As of 2019, it was considered the largest advertising company in the world. WPP has stated owns several companies including advertising, media, PR and market research worldwide. WPP's notable advertising agency companies include Gray, Ogilvy, VMLY&R and Wunderman Thompson. WPP's digital company holdings include AKQA. WPP's public relation and public affairs company holdings include Hill Plus Norton Agencies, Norton Strategies, VCW and Ogilvy. Moving further, its media investment management company holdings include Group M, Mindshare, Wavemaker and Essence, etc. Moving on to the next company which is part of the Big Four, Publicis Group. Publicis Group is a French public relation and multinational advertising company with its headquarters in Paris. By revenue, it is one of the largest and oldest communication and marketing companies in the world. Arthur Sadon heads the Publicis Group. It has national and multinational clients all around the world. Publicis Group agencies deliver traditional and digital advertising media services and marketing services. Next, the Interpublic Group of Companies. It is a publicly traded American advertising company. IPG Media Brands, Mullenlow Group, FCB, Marketing Specialist, and McCann World Group are the 5 big networks which constitute the company. It has also quite a few independent specialty agencies working in the area of sports marketing, healthcare, public relation, and talent representation. The fourth company to be part of the Big Four is the Omnicom Group. Omnicom Group has its headquarters in New York City. It is made up of 5 prominent agency networks. One of these networks is the Media One Marketing Group, which as a parent company oversees more than 1,500 agencies. Some of the other networks are Diversified Agency Services, BBDO Worldwide, Omnicom Media Group, and TBWA Worldwide and DDV Worldwide. So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic on advertising agency. These are some of the sources and links referred to for the content in the video. In this video, we are going to cover the topic on criteria for selecting an advertising agency. There are 7 criteria for selecting an advertising agency. Let's start with the first one, creativity. One of the most important criteria in selecting an advertising agency is a comparable implementation of the client's brief. Creative agencies go a step further than just informing about the brand. They have to do out-of-the-box thinking. Thus, they can instantly and easily attract customers' attention. Next, objectivity and initiative. The advertising agency's point of view about the product should be conveyed to the client. Advertising agency must attempt to present an unbiased approach and its suggested charm. Third, agency accreditation. The professional status of an advertising agency is confirmed after its accreditation. This guarantees a particular level of quality of the services to their clients. The code of ethics set by the media owners have to be followed by these agencies. Fourth, specialization. Clients are sometimes attracted by advertising agencies that specialize in specific field of business. For instance, very few advertising agencies deal with financial advertising as it is an extremely specialized area. Fifth, the scale of operation. A vast range of services is offered by large-scale advertising agencies under one roof. They have a benefit over small-scale agencies. Large-scale agencies bring along prestige, knowledge, and media connection. This is why clients desire large-scale agencies. Next, service fees. The basis of agency compensation is different. Compensation basis used to be a conventional form of remuneration for agencies. Now for their creative work, agencies are charging service fees. Before selecting an advertising agency, the client can compare different fees charged by different agencies. And finally, confidentiality. Product information and other sensitive details are shared with the advertising agency by the company. This information must not be exchanged with a third party. If an agency deals with a competitor's account, the company may not prefer doing business with the agency. Now moving on to guidelines for maintaining agency-client relationship. First, guidelines for the client. In order to make a beneficial advertising campaign, the client must give details of the products and other necessary data to the agency. Clients must behave towards advertising agency with courtesy. They must respect the team working on the campaign. Third, the client should share their ideas and recommendations with the ad agency. Fourth, giving approval to the advertising plan must not be delayed by the client. Fifth, the agency must be compensated as per the terms agreed to by the client. And finally, any situation which may lead to confusion, conflict, or misinterpretation with the advertising agency should be avoided by the client. Now moving on to the guidelines for the agency. First, any work by the client's competitors must not be accepted. If it is done, the client should be intimidated. Second, collection of information about the business like features of the product, position in the market, channels of distribution, etc. should be met with enthusiasm by the agency. The compensation terms must be discussed and finalized while accepting the assignment. This will prevent debates and misunderstanding in the future. Fourth, the agency should maintain communication with the client even if the work is still in progress. Fifth, regular feedback should be taken from the client about the quality of service and level of satisfaction with agency services. And finally, a progress report should be submitted to the client. Now let's look at the example of Weeden plus Kennedy, a famous agency and its clients. Weeden plus Kennedy was established by David Kennedy and Dan Weeden in 1982. It started off as a boutique shop in Portland with Nike as their only client. Weeden plus Kennedy now has offices in Amsterdam, Tokyo, Sao Paulo, New York, London, Shanghai and Delhi. They are the largest prevailing independent agency in the world. Their clients include KFC, Ford, Bud Light and Old Spice. The agency has successfully aimed to deliver conventional, high-impact advertising for major brands. Along with the conventional methods, they continue to adjust their skills to contemporary storytelling equipment ranging from podcasting to AI. This willingness to adapt to modern times helped them gain business from modern brands like Instagram, OkCupid, Airbnb, and Lyft. Advertising industry battles to balance the demands of the client's competition and the ad board public. In these trying times, Weeden plus Kennedy work continues to offer inspiration with an old school commitment and attending demanding creatives. Now let's look at the work of Weeden Kennedy for its client. As stated before, Nike has been their first client and continues to do so even now. So the Nike campaign entails the Just Do It campaign coined by Dan Weeden. Next, Is It the Shoes campaign in 1988. Next, If You Let Me Play 1995. ESPN's This Is Sports Center in 1995. Miller's High Life Man in 1998. Honda's Cog in 2003. Heineken's Beer Run in 2005. Coca-Cola's Happiness Factory. Moving further, Old Spice's famous campaign, The Man Your Man Could Smell Like. P&G's Thanks Mom campaign. Chrysler's famous It's Halftime in America. In India, Make in India campaign. Secret's race in 2016. Delhi in advertisement title Banquet. And Nike Nothing Beats a Londoner 2018. So that's it folks, this brings an end to the topic on criteria for selecting an advertising agency. These are some of the sources and links referred to for the content in the video. In this video, we are going to cover the topic on agency compensation. The agency compensation entails 4 methods. First, fee payment method. Second, commission method. Third, cost plus method. And fourth, performance-based method. Let's look at each one of them briefly. Starting with the fee payment method. The agency compensation consists of the service fee only for providing the service. It is reasonable for both parties. The client gives money according to the services delivered by the agency. The fair return is received by the agency as well. Next, commission method. The media owner pays a certain percent of commission to the agency on the cost for the media space time purchased by the agency. The commission rate is different for each media, obviously TV being the most expensive. The agency bills the client the rate charged by the media owner including the commission. And while paying to the media owner, the agency deducts the commission. Moving to the third, cost plus system. When many services are expected out of the agency and the media billing is small, this method is adopted by the client. When services like making brochures and catalogs etc. are needed and there's a launch of a new product, this method is used. Here the client consents to pay out-of-pocket expenses and the employee cost along with a specific percentage of the amount to cover the overheads and profits of the agency. Next, and the final one, performance-based compensation. Performance-based compensation is deduced depending on how much of the advertising goal is achieved. For instance, objectives can be determined as growth in the sale by 15% or boost in brand awareness by 20%, etc. The achievement of objectives will determine the pay of the agency. This can give rise to a lot of misunderstandings and conflicts between the agency and client. The sales objective and their achievements are based on many other factors like the features of the product, pricing, performance, distribution, quality, etc. and not just on the advertising. Now moving on to an example where an advertising agency WPP won the $600 million pitch. Client Walgreens Boot Alliance believes its $600 million integrated marketing and communications review conducted in the middle of COVID-19 and won by the agency WPP has created a new client agency model that is genuinely revolutionary in several ways. WBA and WPP also agreed to a large element of outcome-based remuneration and a single profit and loss account across all the agency disciplines, including creative, media, and public relations. WBA, the owner of pharmacy chains Walgreens in the United States and Boots in the UK, has used WPP services since 2017. The one thing that we don't want is the outside world to just think that this is rehiring of the holding company. As stated by Vineet Mehra, WBA's Global Chief Marketing Officer, he stated, "What we are doing is almost relaunching the partnership again." To add to it, Mark Reed, the Chief Executive of WPP said, WPP has changed about 8 of the 10 senior agency leaders who worked on WBA during the review process, which resulted in the holding company beating Publicis Group in the final round after Omnicom dropped out at an earlier stage. Just to add a note here, a $600 million pitch in 2020 was a big win for WPP amid the pandemic. The next company to go for a review is Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola is set for a $4 billion account review. Coca-Cola has announced that it will hold a $4 billion review of all its media and creative accounts worldwide. A spokesperson from the Coca-Cola company told Ad News that the review was a part of a decision to fundamentally transform and dramatically improve effectiveness and efficiency of its marketing investments. By improving our processes, eliminating duplication and optimizing spend, we will generate significant savings to fuel reinvestment in our brands, as stated by the spokesperson. The spokesperson says the review will include creative, production management, shopper, and experiential marketing services. So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic on agency compensation. These are some of the sources and links referred to for the content in the video. In this video, we are going to cover the topic on advertising budget. Let's start with the introduction. A comprehensive plan or expenditure for advertising actions is called the advertising budget. It establishes a threshold for advertising expenditures. It decides how the money will be allotted for expenditures. It controls the spending over a certain period, and it is an assessment of a company's promotion expenses over a certain period. Moving forward, the features of the advertising budget. First, it is a basis for advertising plan. Ahead of spending any money on advertising, the organization plans on how the money will be split up. The money can be paid out for several functions, like the selection of media, marketing research, media buying and payment for advertising and additional promotional exercises. Next, it also acts as a planning and controlling device. Information about the amount allotted for advertising activities at any particular period of time is given to the marketing department by it. Therefore, plans can be created about expending money on building the campaign, purchasing different medias for advertising, and further promotional exercises. Next, sets limit to advertising expenditure. Limit as to how much money should be used in advertising is set by the budget. Being careful of the payment authorized for a particular duration, budgets are allotted for several activities. Next, time frame. When a fresh commodity is launched by the company, the advertising budget is commonly made for a year. Although, in particular situations, the campaign can go on for more time and here the budget is created for a longer duration. Next, brings coordination with other functions. An advertising budget cannot be determined in seclusion. Fund allocation for different promotional instruments like sales promotion, event sponsorship, incentives to salespeople, and public relations need to be considered while designing it. Now moving on to the factors to be considered while setting an advertising budget. First, corporate objectives. The advertising expenditure will vary according to the goals of the campaign which the firm wants to achieve. The goals could be to improve sales, build brand awareness, cultivate loyalty, battle the competition, build an image, or to launch a new product. Next, the nature of the product itself. An advertising budget is reliant on the category of the product. Consumer products advertising uses mass media more than industrial products. Therefore, products like FMCG goods and consumer durables will have a higher advertising budget. Next, the product life cycle. Each commodity has a life cycle. A life cycle has different stages like introduction, growth, maturity, and decline. During the introduction stage, a sizable amount of budget is used in advertising. Competitive advertising is a necessity in the growth stage. During the maturity, a fairly lesser amount is spent on advertising. The next, the budget period. As stated earlier, normally an advertising budget is made for a year. Sometimes, to accomplish their extended period marketing goals, businesses may create a long-term advertising budget. That's when an advertising campaign may be planned for more than a year. Next aspect to be considered is the competitor strategy. Advertising expenses will be huge if the market has strong competition. Other companies are obliged to increase their advertising expense if any competitor boosts their advertising budget. Moving on to the size of the market. The size of the market can be either global or national. Depending on the market size, the advertising budget will be high or low. Multinational companies, because of their international range, spend a lot of money on advertising. Next, availability of finance. Depending on the budget that is fixed by the advertisers, media mix, event sponsorship, sales promotion, and the campaign are planned. It is vital to avoid overspending by being very mindful about the available budget. Also, the importance of middlemen. In product marketing, a company heavily depends on its middlemen to nudge its product. Thus, the middleman needs to be given more commission. If it is such, then there will be a very low advertising budget. Although, if the company depends very much on advertising, then the budget will be high. And finally, some amount of budget needs to also be earmarked for crisis management. Sometimes, unprecedented shifts in the marketing environment can influence even the greatest modeled advertising plan. In times of crisis, an advertiser will need contingency funds which should be kept aside by him or her in the first place. Now moving on to some examples, the first one being Budweiser's spend on the Super Bowl. Budweiser approximately paid $470 million to air 135 ad plugs in the 54 Super Bowls, becoming the only firm to have at least one commercial run in each Super Bowl. Following Budweiser, Pepsi was recorded as the second highest investor, spending more than $320 million, followed by Coca-Cola at the third space, spending around $200 million. Budweiser's parent company, Anheuser-Busch, reaches over 100 million US TV viewers through Super Bowl Sundays every year and promotes vintage brands such as the Budweiser and the Bud Light. According to industry experts, Budweiser paid $42 million for a 4-minute ad in 2018. Next example, BMW in James Bond's movie GoldenEye. BMW spent $3 million for the Z3 Roadster product placement and earned about $240 million in advanced sales solely. Next, the final example, Nike. Nike spent about $3.59 billion of advertising in 2020. Nike's spending on advertisements has remained fairly constant over the years. In the last 5 years, Nike has spent a total of $17.54 billion on advertising, which is roughly about $3 to $4 billion a year. So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic on advertising budget. These are some of the sources and links referred to for the content in the video. In this video, we are going to cover the topic on copywriting. Let's start with the introduction. The process of writing advertising promotional material is called copywriting. The text that we see on billboards, advertisements, brochures, emails, catalogs, website, etc. is the responsibility of copywriters. Copywriters should get the reader to take action, which is very different from news or editorial writing. The action could be to buy, engage, or opt in with a service, a company, or product. Many a times, a copywriter is said to be a salesman in print. Moving forward, an example of Daihatsu. The Japanese car company Daihatsu is recognized for its off-road vehicles. The copy here on the right is quite amusing, witty and a bit tongue-in-cheek. The added advantage of the copy was the line translated easily in the pictorial ad as well, which was, picks up 5 times more women than a Lamborghini. Moving further, let's look at the elements of an advertisement copy, starting with headline. The words in the attractive position of the advertisement are called the headline. Those words are placed such as to get more interest and will be read first. The letters of the headline are commonly bigger than the other portions. Provocative headline, informative headline, and label are some varied types of headlines. Next on line, subheads and body copy. Subhead captions merely broaden the thoughts in the headline. This headline makes the reader read further. Subhead lines are also called the bridge between the copy text and the headline. A body copy contains the entire story of the service or the product which the marketer wants to convey. Benefits, utility, and the features of the product are covered by the body copy. Moving further, slogans and illustration. Many a times, successful headlines turn into slogans. The recurrent usage of it makes it famous among the viewers. One goal of a slogan is to give continuity, while the other is to memorize, reiterate the statement amongst consumers. Example, De Beers diamonds are forever. Fourth, identification and closing idea. The content with the signature, logo, or the seal of the company as provided is the identification and closing idea. This identifies the advertiser or sponsor. The emphasis of the closing idea component lies in action. Urging the buyer to purchase the product is the action that is emphasized. Now moving on to certain principles of copywriting, with the first one being of print media. Copy in relation to print advertisements refer to the textual communication content of an advertisement. It entails an attractive headline, number one. The critical element in any print advertising is the headline. The primary objective of a headline is to steer readers into the body copy. Next, shape the subheadlines. While the headline grabs the attention of a reader, a subhead should explain the content further. Next, writing the body copy. The textual element of an ad is known as the body copy. The emphasis of the body copy lies in the exact fact of the service or the product. Next, clarity. Easy and understandable words and sentences are chosen. The reader should completely comprehend how the product will benefit the user. Next, the U approach. U approach includes writing from the point of view of the readers. Next, highlighting USP. The USP of the product, either through the headline or slogan, should be highlighted by the copywriter. Next, match the illustration. The illustration should be in alignment with all the elements of the copy. Basically, copy and illustration post should translate the same meaning. Next, the content obviously should be interesting. For the sake of the readers, an attempt to make the copy exciting and desirable should be made by the copywriter. And finally, tagline. At the climax of the advertisement, to fulfill the creative idea, a tagline should be used. Now moving on to the principles of copywriting for outdoor media. Out-of-home advertising is another name for outdoor advertising. Neon signs, posters, kiosks, printed displays, electric displays, etc. are part of outdoor advertising. They are put up in public places like airports, gardens, streets, bridges, highways, bus stands, railway stations, etc. The guidelines are: first, the copy has to be brief. Next, has to be attractive. Third, a very dominating illustration. Size should be bigger and larger. Fifth, at the exact location. Sixth, legible enough to understand. Seventh, correct presentation. And finally, proper maintenance of the display. Now moving on to some examples of copywriting. First, Nike. Nike celebrated 13 years of the great tagline "Just Do It." Recently, the athletic and footwear brand stated its opinion on an ongoing issue. Former NFL quarterback Colin Kaepernick's close-up face was featured in an ad with a copy that said, "Believe in something even if it means sacrificing everything." Luckily, the ad hit the right spot with the right consumers. Analysts claim that as a result of the ad, the company gained $6 billion in market value. Next example, Norwegian Airlines. Norwegian Air's Brad is Single campaign. Norwegian Air, a low-cost airline, immediately jumped at the opportunity to use the copy "Brad is Single." They used the split of Brangelina in 2016 to advertise low-price tickets to Los Angeles. The campaign is a perfect example of timely copywriting in reaction to a significant news story. Because it was huge news at the time, little context was needed. Next, L'Oreal's Paris. This is an ad for men. Ad agency McKen worked with L'Oreal Paris, a makeup brand, on the campaign. This genius campaign was concentrated on workplace gender inequality. The copy read, "This is an ad for men. Hire more women in leadership roles. We are all worth it." The campaign is bold and packs a punch. It keeps the content to the point. helping readers understand facts without any arguments. So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic on copywriting. These are some of the sources and links referred to for the content in the video. We are going to cover the topic on concept testing versus copy testing. Let's start with concept testing. Before introducing a product, companies study customer acceptance of the product. This is called concept testing. It is not the same as packaging testing, brand testing, or advertising testing. The focus of this method is the product idea. It is the stage at which concept is created during the construction process of the new product. The creation of concept can be done in many forms during concept testing. Due to the technological advances, there are times when the creation of concepts are an incident. In other situations, creation of concept is done deliberately with the help of qualitative research, problem detection surveys, and brainstorming sessions. Concept screening surveys may be required in the presence of various alternative concepts in the beginning stages of concept testing. Concept screening surveys help narrow down the number of options available. But they do not give any detailed insight into the options, nor do they compare to regulatory databases due to the association between concepts. Moving on to copy testing. The influence of advertisement on customer response, behavior, and feedback is determined on the basis of this field of marketing research. It addresses media channels like print, television, internet, social media, outdoor, and radio, and is called pre-testing. PACT, full form for Positioning, Advertising, Copy Testing, was released by a group of 21 ad agencies in 1982, like Tarsis, N.W. Iyer, Gray McKinnon, Ogilvy and Mather, Needham Harper and Streets, Young and Rubicam, and J. Walter Thompson, that described features of a good copy testing system. According to PAT, a good copy system must, first, provide necessary measurements that relate to the objectives of the ad. Second, seek agreement regarding the ways in which results can be used before individual test. Third, generally single measurements are not enough to survey an advertisement's performance. Hence, multiple measurements must be provided. Next, help decide whether multiple exposures to the advertising stimulus is required. Then, acknowledges that alternative execution of finished pieces of copies must be similarly finished, and these finished pieces can be analyzed better. Next, prevent exposure context leading to bias by providing controls. And finally, the basic points of sample definition are considered. Moving on, 3 factors that have to be addressed in copy testing. First, whether or not to test. Majority of local advertising is untested, and a lot of national advertising copies are used without copy testing formally. Testing requires time and money cost. This in turn can delay the launch of a campaign. In the presence of substantial advertising, copy testing proves to be more useful. Second, what and when to test. Copy testing can be done either at the production stage end, during the layout stage, after launching the campaign, or the creative process beginning. The stages at the beginning are called pre-test, whereas the stages at the end are called post-test. Qualitative research like group interviews, in order to obtain reactions to copy ideas, are required during testing at a creative process beginning. Quantitative research that measures the influence of advertising is required during post-testing. Both pre-testing and post-testing can be done in cases where a huge amount is invested in advertising campaigns. Please note, pre-testing and post-testing is covered in one of our videos on advertising effectiveness. Third, what criteria or test to use? The nature of the variable of response used during copy testing can help distinguish it. The focus of a copy test, irrespective of the other important factors to consider, is the criterion or the dependent variable. The factors of copy test strategy demonstrate what certain test measures. Moving on to one of the examples of copy testing, and the method used is neuromarketing. Neuromarketing is a new field of marketing which uses medical technologies such as functional magnetic resonance imaging to study the brain's response to marketing stimuli. The brands in question, the first one is PepsiCo's Lace. When releasing the baked Lace product, women were the main focus of the campaign. The idea for single-serve packaging and the corresponding ad campaign was created with the help of biometric responses of these women. Next, Cheetos. Frito-Lay, a subsidiary of PepsiCo, has a brand of cheese-tasting puffs named Cheetos. They hired a neuromarketing firm to understand how people's brain reacted when they ate Cheetos. After using the EEG technology on a group of enthusiastic consenting subjects, it was found that people gain some sort of guilty pleasure from the feeling of getting their fingers smeared with orange dust. The brain scanning technology helped the firm to ascertain that customers responded passionately to the detail that eating Cheetos gives them orange fingers due to the residual cheese dust. And that's how PepsiCo was confirmed that the ad from Cheetos was a big hit. So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic on concept testing versus copy testing. These are some of the sources and links referred to for the content in the video. In this video, we are going to cover the topic on elements of TV commercial. Let's start with the introduction. Television commercials are compelling tools that can be used to persuade viewers into adopting a specific point of view on a topic. It is also used to convince people to buy goods and services. These advertisements try to target people's emotions. Their aim is to convince them to feel that it is necessary to believe in a particular point of view or to purchase a product or service. Moving on, dialogues, images, music, slogans, and many types of special effects are used to attract viewers. TV advertisements has two sections. These are the video, that is the visual part, and audio, which includes music, spoken words, and various sounds. The creative process starts with the video because TV is better as a visual medium than an auditory one. Moving on to the elements of TV commercial, starting with the first one, testimonials. Testimonials can be those of familiar or unfamiliar people. People are interested in celebrities. Around a third of all TV advertisements have celebrities, mostly athletes and actors. This method uses a presenter who stands before a camera and reads out the copy directly to viewers. The person speaking may display the product and at times show what it does. The celebrity should be well loved and trustworthy. Example in this case is Adam Levine and a testimonial for Proactive in a TV ad. Next, demonstration. This method is popular for some varieties of products. This is because television is the best way of showing the viewer how a product works. For instance, how a spray kills a mosquito, how hair color is applied. Shots taken from up close should be used while creating a demonstration commercial. This helps viewers see things closely. Example, Jennifer Lopez's brand JLo Beauty anti-aging skincare line advertisement where JLo herself is demonstrating how to apply the product. Moving on, close-ups. Television is a medium of close shots. Close shots may be used to demonstrate a fast food chain's delicious finish of hamburgers. In this method, the audio is said off-screen. Example, McDonald's Perfect Made Perfecter campaign by Whedon plus Kennedy. The ad campaign involves taking close shots of the Quarter Pounder. Moving on to storyline. The storyline method resembles making a short film. The difference is that the audio is delivered off-screen. The next element focuses on comparison. Comparing two products answers the consumer's queries. Usually, it is compared to the leader in the product variety. Example in this case is Fairy versus Persil. Persil complained to the Advertising Standard Authority about Fairy's ads. They argued that Fairy's claim to last twice as long as other brands is misleading, but Advertising Standard Authority backed Fairy as a company's claim could be substantiated. Moving on to the next element of TV commercials, slice of life. Slice of life is a dramatic technique that has been used for some time. In it, actors recite a story and try to draw viewers to the brand. It is a short mini play in which the hero is the brand. Most slice of life ads start with a problem which the brand fixes. The most famous slice of life ad campaign is of P&G's Thank You Mom campaign. For the 2010 Olympics, P&G wanted to turn its corporate reputation into a competitive advantage by leveraging its global scale and uniting its 34 brands under one voice. We didn't make the athletes or our heroes, we celebrated their moms. We created a fully integrated Thank You Mom campaign that acknowledged a mom's rightful place in these games, as stated by P&G. The results of the campaign. Thank You Mom was the biggest and the most successful global campaign in P&G's 175-year history, with a $500 million in global incremental P&G sales, 76 billion global media impressions, over 74 million global views, and over 370 million Twitter interactions. Moving on to the next one, customer interview. Most people shown in TV ads are professional actors, etc. The customers interviewed are non-professional. Having customers talk in the ad sounds more authentic and genuine. For example, Dove soap ads, which feature regular customers to talk about the benefits and the glow on their skin. Moving on to the other elements of humor and animation. Using humor is an old and popular method with both viewers and copywriters. It makes the ad more attractive. Next, animation. An animation is made up of artists' inanimate drawings. These are then photographed on motion picture film, one frame at a time. They come to life when a film is projected because of motion. Cartoons are the most popular type of animation. This is a commonly used technique for children's commercials. Animation can also be used to show a product's technical details in an easier way. And finally, we move on to the last elements of soundtrack and music. First, soundtrack. The soundtrack of the ad may be recorded either during the videotape or film shooting or before or after shooting in a recording studio. If the audio is recorded while shooting, actual people's voices are used in the advertisement. The most famous soundtrack is of Phil Collins and Cadbury, The Drum in the Air Tonight. It is one of the most iconic of all time. It's used to its full potential in Cadbury's ad, which shows a gorilla deeply feeling the music as he waits to pound out the solo. Sure, it has nothing to do with the chocolate, but it shows that with a great song, you don't really have to make a lot of sense. The other one is about music. Music has the ability to share moods and emotions in a way nothing else can. Thus, the music can either make the TV advertisement a hit or ruin it. The example in this case is the band Europe and Yoko. Yoko is known for their funny, memorable ads. They knocked it out of the park yet again in 2015. The stadium anthem, The Final Countdown, is played ironically as a man waits for his microwave burrito. The band Europe even made a cameo in the commercial. So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic on elements of TV commercial. These are some of the sources and links referred to for the content in the video. In this video, we are going to cover the topic on advertising testing. So what is advertising testing? The standards that determine the success of ad campaigns are always sought by advertising agencies. Comparing and analyzing the advertising campaign with the marketing and advertising objectives is how the influence of advertising is measured. It is ensured that consumer reactions are explored and investigated on the basis of copies with the help of advertising testing. The two stages at which testing influence of an advertising can be set are: first, pre-testing, that is measured before the campaign launch, and second, post-testing, measured through chosen mixed media after the promotional tool and campaign launches. Now let's look at the methods of pre-testing and post-testing. They broadly entail two types of method, that are communication effects and sales effect, and there are many sub-methods within each of them. Let's look at each one of them briefly, starting with pre-testing communication effect. The first method under this is the opinion and attitude test. Advertising effects are measured by some of the initial methods in these tests, starting with, first, dummy advertising media vehicle. A dummy vehicle is used to place test ads in this method. The vehicle is a replica of the real advertising medium. For instance, a magazine that looks the same as the original can be created by the agency. Advertisements, news, stories, and editorials are a part of every dummy vehicle. Respondents are asked questions about the editorial and advertising content after they have been asked to go through the magazine like it was the original publication. Next, consumer jury method. Opinions about the quality of advertisement are sought from the respondents. For instance, questions about which advertisement appeals to them the most, which is the most interesting advertisement in the publication, which is the most convincing advertisement, etc. The next in line is the order of merit. Respondents in this method are asked to place a series of advertisements given to them in order with reference to the communication criteria provided. Finally, a total score is calculated on the basis of ranks of advertisements provided by respondents. The rank of advertisement increases from number 1 to higher numbers. Moving on, attitude scales. A person's emotions against an object are determined with the help of attitude. People's feelings about an advertisement and brand are sought by advertisers. There is a 7-point bipolar scale in this method through which respondents requested to rank their answer. This is the way of advertising through which consumer reactions are measured. And finally, paired comparison method. It might be difficult for some respondents to rank more than 5 or 6 ads in order of merit. 2 advertisements are to be judged simultaneously in this method. The better of the 2 ads are to be shown by the respondent. Every advertisement is paired with all the others. For instance, in a set of 5 copies, 1 is compared with 2, 3, 4 and 5 individually. Now moving on to the second method under pre-testing, which comes under communication effect, is the mechanical laboratory method. Non-verbal responses by customers are measured with the help of mechanical aspects like an eye camera. Subjectivity is minimalized with mechanical methods in testing. These are expensive methods. The motivational level of respondents is measured with word association test, detailed interviews, and thematic appreciation test, which are examples of these techniques. The factors that influence consumer behavior are understood with the help of these techniques. The concept evaluation phase before an ad is created is where the outcomes of these techniques are mostly useful. Moving on to pre-testing, looking at the sales effect. Under that, there are 2 methods. First, inquiry test. As the name suggests, the amount of inquiries that an ad receives is the basis of measuring the potential influence of advertising in this method. Coupons, samples, and free gifts are offered to consumers by advertisers. An advertisement's influence is indicated by the amount of inquiry it receives. Next, sales, experimental, and test markets. A test retail outlet consists of product packages without identification marks that are grouped together. Card with description and an advertising message is placed in front of the package. Test market techniques can be used by organizations to quantify sales effect. The weakness of test market method are that they are expensive, time-consuming, and correct test markets need to be selected. Now moving on to post-testing, under that communication effect. The first, reading test. Advertisements are run after which these tests are conducted to figure out how many people notice, see, and read specific ads. advertisements seen by respondents in publications are to be identified. They are asked to sort these advertisements into categories. Next comes the recall test. The memory of a respondent is the basis for this test. The ads seen by the respondents have to be recalled and named by them. Only if the information, theme, and components of the ad are recalled by the respondent, the ad copy is successful. Moving on to the third, attitude change measure. The influence of advertisements and promotional tools in shifting the opinions of customers about the company is analyzed with the help of attitude measurement test. It is a common assumption that consumers only buy products from a brand which they have a good opinion of. Advertising campaigns are launched by companies to correct the opinions created by bad publicity. The influence of advertising campaigns is quantified by companies to see its effect after the launch of a campaign. And finally, post-testing sales effect, the measure of past sales. The influence of released advertisements is understood by companies by analyzing past sales. A quantifiable indicator is obtained with this method. Since it is difficult to differentiate the effect of promotional tool with advertising on sales, past sales cannot be the appropriate basis of measuring advertising effectiveness. So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic on advertising testing. These are some of the sources and links referred to for the content in the video. In this video, we are going to cover the topic on media relations. Now let's start with the definition of media relations. Media relations has to do with an organization working alongside media to keep people aware of its aims, practices, and policies in a good, credible, and steady way. Media typically entails journalists from thousands of magazine publications, newspapers, TV, and radio stations. Usually, this implies working with the people who create the features and news in the mass media. The aim of media relation is to optimize positive coverage in the mass media without having to spend money on advertising. Thus, if something newsworthy happens in a business, then a media list can help decide which media channels would be interested in covering the news. Moving further, objectives of media relations. First, hosting press releases filled with information in the interest of people. Next, playing the role of media's source of information. Third, making brand image better. Fourth, raising awareness, knowledge, and improving people's understanding. Next, boosting communication with investors, financial analysts, and stakeholders. Having an impact on government policy at the local, national, and global levels. Raising the marketing share. Altering the behavior and attitude of desired audience through media. Making the relationship with journalists and media firms better. And finally, keeping a list of personal names and publications in the media. Moving on to sources of media information. The first and the oldest, print media. The media forms that have been around the longest are newsletters, journals, magazines, newspapers, and other types of printed materials. These are together known as print media. The impact of print media has been quite important. It reports a lot more than any other source. Example, a lot of TV coverage only repeats news and stories which were first stated in newspapers. Moving on, press releases. The press release is also known as a press handout. It is released by an organization for publication. The businesses disseminating the press release or newspapers that cover and publish them do not receive money. It only improves the firm's public image. The goal of the press release is to keep people up to date about crucial events. Public relation departments put out press releases by stating figures and facts about what should be covered by the press. Next, television news. The television sector is quite diverse. There are thousands of programs in various official languages of every country. Next is radio news. Radio is one more way to broadcast. Television became popular in the 1950s. Before this, radio was the most popular broadcast medium. And finally, the internet. The internet is gradually changing news media. More and more people depend on online news sources and not the traditional broadcast and print media. Moving forward, possible reasons an organization may reach out to the media. First, aim to engage with the community. Next, participate in local or community activities. Third, visits from celebrities and senior members of the business. Fourth, business closure, strikes or disaster that have happened recently. Next, starting promotional campaigns for the business. Next, highlight awards and accolades received by the business. Next, state financial status of the business. Broadcast awards or events sponsored by the business. Launching new factories or offices. And finally, it could also be releasing a new product or service. Moving on to media relations versus public relation department. Usually, the phrase public relation and media relation are employed interchangeably. This is, however, wrong. Media relation is the relation that forms between a business and media. Public relation goes a step further to the general public from the media. Communication among journalists and the organization can be started by either party. Next, benefit of media relation to business.
First, improves credibility. Next, thought leader spotlight. Third, product roundup. Fourth, SEO, social media and traffic management. Next, creates an authority in the line of business. Obviously improves brand awareness. And finally, endorsements from a third party. In this case, the media is the third party. Moving on to principles of good media relation. First, a relationship is both unavoidable and crucial between media and the business. The way the firm acts decides whether the relationship is positive or negative. Next, the firm should release statements to the public in one voice. They can appoint and train only one or multiple spokespeople with a coordinated statement. Third, the person most related to the event should be appointed as a spokesperson. If not, they have to be in touch with a spokesperson. Fourth, no comment statement should be ruled out. All queries have to be answered. Next, the firm should see the media as an ally in communication with people. They must not be seen as rivals or intruders. Sixth, the firm should hold itself accountable for different people, external or internal. Next, the firm must not try and control the media's agenda or their calculation of what deserves to be covered. Eighth, the Office for Media Relation must always be aware of the newsworthy events, especially those that can have a bad impact. Ninth, journalists should be helped with professional assistance. This can be a working media room, access and parking permits. And finally, the firm should know that it will eventually get bad press. It should react by accepting it, processing it and recovering quickly. For example, Samsung's Note 7 failure led to a lot of negative press for Samsung. And finally, let's look at an example of media relation. Example, Tesla. The news website Electric says that Tesla has dissolved its media relation team in America. Unlike its competitors who spend huge money in marketing and advertising, Tesla avoids traditional methods for promoting its vehicles and brands. Its primary method for marketing products is the Twitter account of CEO Elon Musk, which has over about 49 million followers. His posts about new technology or features get reshared by many Twitter accounts and other websites. The move has been confirmed to by Electric at the highest level at Tesla, with the source saying, "We no longer have a PR team." Tesla still has a small PR team for Asia and Europe. However, the main global team based in America has been disbanded. So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic on media relation. These are some of the sources and links referred to for the content in the video. In this video, we are going to cover the topic in trends in advertising. Let's start with the first trend, sponsored content. There has been an increase in the number of ad blockers. Due to this, sponsored content has become an increasingly famous form of advertising. The message is incorporated in the form of unpaid content. This results in bypassing the ad blocker. Hence, visitors find it to be less irritating. Sponsored content includes in-feed advertising, advertorials, and promoted posts. Example of a sponsored content by Cristiano Ronaldo. The estimated average price per post by him is about $900,000. Ronaldo does brand endorsements very well. He is the ideal celebrity for any sports brand. Other celebrities fail to write a caption and just mention the brand. Ronaldo, on the other hand, does a thorough job by promoting the brand properly with a caption. Here's an example of post where he promoted shoes for Nike. Next example in this case is Dwayne Johnson. His estimated average price per post is about $1 million, and he also does justice to the brand he promotes. Next trend is of shorter video ads. Customers will watch any ad only if it's useful, relevant, and attention-grabbing. This has resulted in declining the amount of time spent watching an ad across almost every medium. This is leading brands to examine short videos. Their aim is to serve short attention spans and win against the skip button. Marketers now try to tell the story for brand in under 15 seconds. These shorter bumper ads pose a creative challenge. The shorter video format needs impactful content, and the content needs to provoke an instantaneous emotional reaction from the viewer. One brand doing justice in this particular space are the commercials by Volkswagen for its brand of cars, Golf. The ads are short and to the point, and in most cases, they do not involve any audio. Moving on to the next of OTT advertising. Those who distribute streaming media on the internet are called over-the-top content providers. Traditional broadcast television has been disrupted by these services. It has resulted in a new era of consumers to cut the cord with cable and satellite services. The OTT industry currently has 3 video on-demand models that are dominating: subscription VOD, transactional VOD, and ad-supported VOD. The videos watched on the OTT streaming device can't be skipped, neither can an ad blocker be installed. This results in higher video completion rates for advertising on OTT advertising than in browser video ads. Moving on to the fourth trend of mobile advertising. In modern times, consumers rely more on their phones. The devices are used for news, shopping, and for a substantial amount of entertainment. Marketers are well aware of this. A lot of video recorded on mobile devices are now being captured in an upright format. This format is known as vertical video. This trend has led many brands into creating vertical advertisements. Vertical advertisements are aimed towards platforms like Snapchat, Instagram Stories, and Facebook. One brand to capture this trend was Starburst. A series of ads for Starburst, the fruit-flavored candy from Mars, were released for optimized viewing on mobile devices. The best enjoyed vertically ads backed the launch of Starburst swirlers. As per information shared with Mobile Marketeer, it is described as its first vertically shaped candy. The video shows scenes that look odd unless they are seen vertically as on a smartphone. DDB United States created this digital ad for Starburst under the category confectionery and snacks. Moving on to the fifth trend of user-generated content. Word-of-mouth marketing goes on to be a precious asset to brands even in the new digital age. All relevant content like videos, pictures, social media posts or reviews by unpaid fans of a brand is defined as UGC. UGC is extra budget conscious compared to other forms of marketing. It also generates 7 times more engagement as compared to regular brand generated content. And the brand redefining UGC is GoPro. GoPro understands the value of UGC. It has created numerous incentivizing programs to generate UGC content. It searches killer content number of categories which exhibit the degree of product usage for GoPro cameras. Through GoPro Awards, prizes like money, equipment and social stock or tags and reshare from GoPro's official channels are offered. For instance, GoPro's $1 Million Challenge. GoPro's grand end of the year highlight reel allows entries only shot on the newest high-end camera launched by GoPro. Every user who submitted a clip gets an equal share of $1 million as a prize money. Next comes QR codes. A quick response code is also called a QR code. It is a 2D symbol very similar to the universal product code. When scanned by a QR code reader, it evokes a digital action. When it is scanned by a smartphone, it can initiate several actions. It can send an SMS, make a phone call, or open a website. Around 11 million households will scan a QR code in 2020 according to Statista. In 2021, due to the pandemic, the usage of QR codes has increased. This is not only because a QR code is versatile, but also because it is hygienic and safe. Some of the creative examples of a usage of QR codes are the first case at a virtual toy store at Walmart, where details about the toy are available only when you scan them. And then breathing new life into otherwise boring places with QR codes, a museum, and in this case a shopping mall in Singapore, where 4 life-size QR mascots were employed in a shopping mall in the shape of shopping bags embellished with a large QR code. Moving on to the 7th trend, programmatic advertising delivered through artificial intelligence. 2021 will reveal a new advertising trend. It is speculated that programmatic ads via artificial intelligence will be the new game changer of the year. It will be used to automate ad purchases. It has become increasingly challenging to govern as the range of channel used for reaching customers has grown significantly. The management of programmatic platforms through AI solves this problem. And one company nailing this is Albert Technologies. Artificial solutions for agencies and brands are made by Albert Technologies. The software operates across channels like Facebook, YouTube, Google Ads, Instagram, and Gmail. It operates along the entire customer lifecycle. The company's autonomous digital marketeer is named Albert. Albert implements campaigns from start to finish. Insights from cross-channel data are also delivered by Albert. Industry impact: a client of Albert, Harley-Davidson, New York, witnessed an increase of 566% in website views. 40% of his motorcycle sales have also been credited to Albert. After the implementation of Albert, numerous other franchises of Harley-Davidson have started working with the AI digital marketer. And the final trend of live videos. By 2021, the live video industry is estimated to be worth $70 billion. It is extremely popular with customers. Compared to pre-recorded videos, people spend 3 times longer watching live video. It is also the most common way of learning about new products. Adding a live element makes the video more engaging. It makes the audience believe that they are part of it and can influence the content. It makes the audience feel that instead of watching passively, they can impact the content and are a part of it.
So that's it, folks. This brings an end to a comprehensive take on the subject of advertising. Do subscribe to our channel where you'll witness such videos daily. Thank you and stay tuned for our next video.